Hi, guys. How's everyone doing? It's your boy, GRC. This is Crypto in the Morning. I've had a pretty great morning, personally. I've been in the Twitter Spaces since 4 a.m., talking shit, teaching crypto, having a good time, calling out all those guys that like to do lots of this, but none of this. We call them out right away. But anyway, guys, had a great time this morning. I'm gonna mention. Should I mention it? Hey, in the private chat, when I come back from the break, Bullish, should I mention what we were talking about right before the stream, or should I not mention that? As far as the thing you have pulled up top where Sam is. Anyway, guys, really huge day coming. Sam has been explosively neurotic for the last 12 hours, absolutely losing his mind into the rabbit hole that is cryptocurrency, okay? Leverage, finance. I can't stop this guy. Whatever you guys think about him, there's no human power that can stop him. He just goes his way. So I'm just telling you guys, not every idea he has is mine, but I'm telling you, this guy is about as passionate as it gets. And we're going to talk about, he loves to talk about reality instead of the little fog of information that gets lifted over everyone. Anyway, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy GRC. Make sure you share this right now. Smash the like, smash it all. Get me on Instagram, get me on all of it. Tell everyone we're coming in here and we're coming in hot. I've been talking all day, so the lips are loose. Lips are loose.
Young folks, you tripping on them motherfucker. Bought my hex from the fucking start. .1 every day we mark. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hit restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Buy my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hit restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Checking my MetaMask moving. Look at the hex, he is mooning. Looking at why they be choosing. Peter is why they be losing. Pulsechain's out, now get me a check. He's gas up and it got me a mess. Remember the times he died, collect. Hex I been eating, I'm dying in the best. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this Pulsechain lingo. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this Pulsechain lingo. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Buy my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hit restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Buy my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hit restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Richard Hart. Richard Hart. Richard Hart. Richard Hart.
Good morning. It is actually like afternoon for me because I woke up at 2 a.m. thinking about crypto because I'm so excited. This has been a reoccurring theme over the last 6 days.
No, you don't say so excited. So manic. You got to use the right terminology here. Manic mania. Okay. No, me too, dude. Over the last couple months, I think I've woke up at 2 a.m. and just started working on like 6 or 7 occasions for sure. Just because my hindbrain was so aggravated with the itch that wasn't scratched at that moment.
Oh man, it was like I got to get up and start doing something. It's insane. I'm very, very excited for crypto in general, for all the projects that are coming out. Like it's going to be an insane year, but also if you play that out and you try to put perspective on there.
Bullish, can you pull up the hex chart, please, while he's talking?
By the way, I like the camera angle. You guys should definitely give a thumbs up and share this out for the awesome camera angle. Hopefully, I'm going to have a wider angle so I will look like this in the future.
It's not as much as a wider angle, Sam, as it is you need a bigger screen so you can move it back and you can still see.
Well, you can get the wider angle too, and then it captures a little more. I have a GoPro that I need to figure out how to.
Can I have a wider angle than this?
That's pretty wide, dude. Look at your wide.
Same as yours. You're just closer to the screen. How close is your face to your screen right now?
About 2 feet away.
Mine's about 3 feet, I guess. So you're right.
Yeah. So the angle.
Mine's also above my head. Anyway, guys, let's get out of that. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what I was talking about this morning, and then I want you to go into your piece.
Cool. Crypto curricula. He's like, I did get a fire reaction from Sam at 2 a.m. I can confirm.
Can Bullish, if you're in, can you pull up the hex chart while
I got you.
Okay. So
what's up? What were you?
Okay, so real quick, let's look at this. I want to check this because I hadn't even checked it yet. So as you can see, guys, where are we at now? About 16 cents. We're looking really good, guys. We're at that support line. If we could freaking bounce on top of this and hold support, that would be ill. That would be ill. But you know, guys, I want to be realistic. This number has been hit about 3 or 4 times over the last few months. Orca would say dump imminent. And I would happen to, if I had to put my money on it, I'd say it'd probably go back down before it went back up. But like, you know how Hex is parabolic and can go at any time. The liquidity is so small and pinch, Sam. You know how it can kind of shoot up if somebody really with money decides they want that to happen, right?
Well, think of put this into context, right? We have Maximus DAO that is pulling, what did you say, 240 million Hex off the market, right? So they're pulling
that's the 9th largest stake in history.
That's a lot.
No, largest 555 stake. Excuse me, largest like.
Is it 240 million Hex or 240 million dollars?
I think it's 240 million Hex. So right now, because at the 150 million Hex mark. Oh, so I also want you to go back to that Etherscan when you're done. After we look at this. So what are we looking at here?
There we go. That's better than I have to send it so far.
Oh, okay. 2238. So we're at 238 million Hex and
okay. So this is 238 million. Thank you. 238 million has been sacrificed for the Maximus 1-for-1 DAO, which is pretty crazy. That's you said the 9th biggest or something in the top 10 largest stakes,
something like that. Hey, Bullish, whenever you have a second, can you write in the private chat the number that the sacrifice address for that one thing that we were talking about earlier? What if that's hit the number that I'm thinking it hits the max limit yet? Because I think after it hits the max limit, I might talk about it, but I don't necessarily want to make anyone do anything in the short term. You know what I mean? That could be really aggressively. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But guys, Sam, I want you to okay. Well, I guess we are talking about it, but guys, no, go pull it up now. You cat's out of the bag.
No, it's all good.
Okay, whatever. Sam, I want you to talk a little bit about where you're at, all your freaking craziness this morning. We're talking a little bit. I'm going to say these words, these trigger words, and then we're going to stop saying them. Okay, we're talking about taxes a little bit, and we're talking about sometimes paying a little less than some other people with those things legally. That's the basis of the story. Sam, I want to go into what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and maybe some of the things that people aren't mentioning that you're kind of being like, hey, this is mentionable stuff for certain.
So I'm very, very bullish on that stuff, like anything related to debt, whether it is like something like that or something like liquid loans or in the physical world, right? Very, very simply, if you look at your income statement as an individual, so GRC, right, you have your income statement, how much income is coming in, whether it's one or multiple sources, and then you have your expenses. Well, across the board, the biggest expense for people is taxes. So if you can go through and legally and ethically minimize your taxes, and you play that out, right? So if you're spending 30% and you can reduce that to say an effective rate of 5% or 10%.
Hold on. Sorry, somebody said you guys are on the wrong sides, and then it started messing my head up. I was like, we are on the different sides. So
Yeah.
go on, keep going.
So if you look at your individual income statement, every individual watching has an individual income statement, your job and other investment income or anything, right? That, and then you have expenses below there. At the end of the year, the biggest expense is your taxes. So if you legally and ethically can go through and minimize or eliminate that tax, it's a prudent thing to do. Because think about, so say for easy math, somebody has $100,000 of income and they're paying 30% on that. And then there's through education and effective tax planning, you could drop that down to say pay 5%. So you just saved $25,000. Now imagine if you took $25,000 and you invested it into crypto every year for the next 10 years, assuming you wanted to stay at that job for 10 years, right? And your income would go up, right? You put in $250,000. Imagine what the $250,000 in crypto would do instead of it being in the government's hands. We know that is super wasteful.
We are polishing up nicely as far as crypto researchers, Sam. I'm surprised that I'm polishing up. I really didn't assume I would polish up that hard. I thought I would, but like the more you stare at this shit, it really does just get into your head a little bit. Like you just kind of know. You're like, oh, those things I've heard about those 700 times. Like, you know what I mean? It just gets locked into your sub. And then once you start really understanding like the fiat, the inflation, and you really get a grasp of like how ridiculous it is, that's when I went all in. Once I knew about the T-shares, the immutability. But then really, it's not even about the T-shares. T-shares wouldn't be so valuable if inflation wasn't absolutely nuclear 24/7, but that's not really true either.
But look at, I mean, I thought, like, I'm very, very, very bullish on, Pax and Pulse and PulseX.
You heard it here first. Sam Stoltz, first time on the show, I think ever, admitting that he is super bullish on Hex, Pulsechain, PulseX. Clip that for your shorts.
In crypto as a whole is also extremely bullish. Like,
So bullish.
oh man.
As far as DeFi is concerned, Sam, let's go there right now. Let's go. Let's talk DeFi for a second. You're in the financial industry. Tell us your background a little bit for the people that are new. You know, it's been a while since you probably talked about this, a couple episodes at least. Tell us your background. Kind of how did you get into finance? What did you find when you were in finance, and how fast did you leave finance?
I got into finance because I like money, and then you like learn all about finance in school, right? So I was homeschooled my whole life, then went into school, studied finance and economics in undergrad, and then MBA. I had a double focus in my MBA, finance and accounting, and did a CFA just because I liked focusing. I wanted to run a hedge fund in a PE firm. Which are, two things that I thought were super interesting. But I never went down that route because I didn't want to do some of the
What's your
things.
age roughly at this time? Are you in college at this time?
Yeah.
Or after college?
Well, during grad school, I was like, that's what I wanted to run a hedge fund.
Okay, so you were in your mid-20s. You were bucking. You were trying to figure shit out.
Trying to figure shit out. Trying to figure it out completely. And naive, clueless, no idea what I was doing. And I didn't want to do like networking because I don't want to know GRC because GRC knows somebody who can connect me with it, somebody who can put money in my pocket. I want to know GRC because he's a good dude and I actually want to be friends with that person. And so that was like a hang up mentally for me back in the day. And once I just
16.3 on the Hex price, guys. We're moving, guys.
Well, let's touch on that. Okay, so we're pulling 240 million Hex off the market.
Yes. Sir.
And we have 2 weeks
now,
until
when you
launch.
say pulling off the market, let's clarify for people that are new or maybe
burning that shit. It is gone.
So when you stake Hex, what does that do?
Burns it.
It burn, baby, burn. You know what I mean? So guys, that is if you don't know what we're talking about, that is part of the Hex staking mechanism. Like once you stake it, it's burned, and then your T-share starts producing more Hex. You start mining Hex yourself.
So we have 240 million coming off the market. We
Yes,
also have,
and that hasn't happened yet.
That hasn't happened. But what do we have happening supposedly in about 2 weeks?
Pulsechain.com is launching.
So what do you think people who want a hypothetical double on their money going to do? Are they going to leave it in
Well,
some?
in one way, there's one way to say it here, guys. If you have money in any way, shape, or form that you do not need to pay your immediate bills, life stuff, all this, cover your kids and all that junk, and you are not putting it into Hex right this second, I think you're being rather naive with your money as far as opportunity cost is concerned, because you're getting a double on the Pulsechain. Why does Richard Hart want the Pulsechain to exist? Why did it? I don't know what his master plans are for it, but he loves Hex, right? We all love Hex. We love long-term saving. We love the lifestyle it gives us. We love having to know that our T-shares are working for us while we're making business plays in person. That's what Hexicans love. That's what Richard Hart loves. That was the original idea. And Pulsechain is just here to kind of facilitate that for now, at least. Like, that's kind of what it was built to do, because Ethereum wrecked Hex.
Well,
Ethereum wrecked Hex, and then, or at least made it very difficult to have people in there.
Getting into our ecosystem is like
unplugging from the matrix and waking up to reality. AK, great to see you. Crypto Compassion. Happy. Is it Friday? Jim Rat, gotta be hands-on too much with my kid RN. All right, cool, man. We'll talk. You be down tomorrow morning. Amish kid. How you doing, brother? Good to see everyone in the chat. Sorry I've been ignoring this morning. I've been trying to be a little more active. Oh, yeah.
What is this?
Coinbase has been a pain too. They hold your money for days before you can use it. They only do that if you don't look at the amount you can spend per day. And if you go over that limit, yes, they will hold your funds. So make sure it's $900 a day or $999 a day or less. If that's your limit, it also goes up to $5,000, I think. But I just do like $900 at a time. Personally, that's fine for me. It's not a big deal. But that's just me. Like, some people want to put in like 20 grand in there. I'm sure it's a pain in the ass.
Can't you also just wire it in and then it's not held?
Yeah, but dude, there's so many people bitch about that process that I it's kind of a wild card, right? Like, back in the day, it was different than it is now. It changes. Like, it kind of changes. Like, I remember putting money in there and definitely there was no hold at some point, but I could be wrong about that too. But wire your money. But I remember Motley saying, even wiring your money, there's some physical on the ground stuff that's annoying. Like, you have to interact with your bank, which causes
very annoying.
Yeah, like that. Why, if interacting with your bank is like a 5% fee, because it's so fucking annoying. Like, it's that annoying. It's a waste of time.
Literally, that is the fee, because you have to go to the bank, or a lot of them won't do it over the phone.
It's a life fee. It's like your life fee. Like, they're taking your life away. Wiring is easy and no hold. Yes, I know. It's definitely easy in general, but like, we're just saying, like, Coinbase just spent $5 million on compliance and AML positions. No idea what that means. Sam, can you clarify?
Anti-money laundering. So basically, they're gonna be freezing people's accounts more frequently than they have been going forward.
Oh, we have 80 viewers concurrent at the moment, guys. I was just getting I'm still like I just had I didn't have any coffee yet, so I'm gonna have to go in the other room and grab some. I have a cold brew in there. Switching it up to the cold brew today because it was nice out. I walked to go get it, and I haven't even sipped it yet. Only 46 likes, guys. There's something incredibly not dopaminergic about that like ratio. Sam, so if you were somebody else, if you were a theoretical human being walking this earth, and you said, I have $100,000 in crypto asset. Let's say that asset is Hex. Let's say that asset is Ethereum, for the numbers' sake. It's going to be lower numbers. You don't want to pay taxes moving forward or sell your crypto. So you don't want to sell your crypto and you don't want to pay taxes, right? What would you do personally if and when a theoretical instance where you would ever take out a loan of some sort were to exist?
So what's so funny you asked that question, because it's kind of how I'm thinking about this.
There's no script here, guys. No script here. I mean, there is no script here. I'm too good at what I do.
I just put this together in the last 5 seconds while you were prepping this. I was like, oh, let me put together a quick little example here so that I can talk about that.
Go
So before we get into the specific side of what you just mentioned related to crypto, let's understand debt slightly better.
Yes.
So you know the guy who talks about Dave Ramsey, right? Dave Ramsey talks about how debt is bad. Susie Orman talks about
ignorant. It's absolutely ignorant. I mean, at this point, like that's actually a disservice to society at this point. But go ahead.
So now let's compare two examples. On the one hand, we're going to look at this example here and just cross that out, right? We're going to use. We'll just assume this could be crypto, it could be real estate, but we're going to relate it to crypto as we move forward. So we want $100,000 and say you probably won't be able to get these ratios if you're in crypto, but what I was super bullish on was real estate. So I'm using an example that is similar to real estate. You just change the number slightly and it all there. It's just math. It's pretty simple. So you have $100,000 worth of an asset right here, right? And then over here, you don't use any debt, and you just have $100,000 of that asset.
Okay.
So what happens when this asset? So we're going to look at the same example, but one side has debt and one side does not. That's the only difference.
So you're just saying that this is a $100,000 asset that has no debt on it. You paid it off.
Over here, yes.
Yes, and then on the other side, you have $5K cash, but you're taking out a $100,000 loan.
95. Yep, correct. 100%.
Netting to 95. Okay, good.
Okay. Now, see this? We're going to say the price goes up of the asset by 25%.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So on both sides, because it's the same asset, the only thing we're talking about that's different is debt. So it went up by 25%, and it went up by 25%.
Yes.
When you look at the ROI on the cash deal, you made 25%. Cool, awesome, congrats, right? On this side, you have a 6x of your money. Think about that for a second, because it's hard for people to grasp that the first time they see that.
Yeah, and again, guys, I know a lot of people know this stuff like the back of their hand, but then there's like 90% of the people that this is new information, guys. It's important to understand these overarching concepts when it comes to, like, my parents told me to take out debt and go to college, and I didn't do all those things not because I didn't want to, just because I was an idiot. But, so I would have been in a lot of debt. Now, because that didn't happen, Sam, I don't have any debt.
But that's...
You know what I mean? I have no like extra bulk stuff. I have my house debt and stuff. You know what I mean? But I don't have like student loans, totally negative asset shit.
So we understand what's happening. So this is like more macro. Fiat's going in the toilet, right? We understand that. We all agree fiat's garbage, right? And it's just going to, the toilet's going to continue to flush faster and faster. And it's going to go down faster and faster. So not that I don't recommend anybody do this. This is things that I might do in my own life, but I'm not recommending anybody do the things that I talk about. This is just for information and education purposes.
And you're not going to do this anyway, right? No one's going to do this.
Hypothetically, right?
Go to the discussion, please.
So look at well, let's go back to here for a second. So you have 25% here. Here you have 6x on your money, right? Mm-hmm. Because you only put in 5,000 over here and you made 25,000. Here you put in 100,000 and you only made 25,000.
5x, right?
Yeah, if you take 30 divided by 5.
Oh yeah, because it's the extra.
But we're not factoring like
either way, it's a 5 or a 6.
Correct, and you're going to have a massive increase if you factor in borrowing costs. So you were talking about the benefits of it, right? So one benefit, right? You get to amplify your returns. If you use debt, you can amplify your returns, right? We see right here whether it doesn't. Okay, so say this is only 400%, right? Mm-hmm. It's still 400% versus 25%. That's what is that? A 16x increase relative to not using debt. 16x increase in your returns.
So, Sam, I bought my house naively. Let me tell you some of the stats on my house roughly, because when I bought it, I had no interest in really. I mean, I wanted to like invest, but I didn't. I thought that was just something I was supposed to do, right? I had no merit behind it. Good morning, Francis. So I bought this house for literally, I want people to understand, and this was all by accident. I just always put myself in the right positions. I didn't know why, but I always listen to smart people. I bought this house for like 240 grand. Like that was the house price, right? At the time. And I spent $5,000, I think. No, I think it was like 8 grand on the down payment, dude. It's like 3%. So I had 8 grand and a job in my bank account, and they gave me a big ass house. So guys, realize now this house has $186,000 of equity, and it's only been a year and a half. So you have to understand those numbers are real. I just said those numbers. Like that was, I guarantee if you divide all those numbers up, it's close. If you
Correct.
Equal.
Well, exactly. And you just change instead of the number being 5,000, it's 8,000. Instead of it being 95, it's whatever your loan amount was, right? I'm really like 100, 200.
So I can leverage $180,000 off my house right now
into crypto, hypothetically, right?
I would never do it. Sam knows I would never do it. I'm not that type.
But I would.
I know. I'm not analytical and detailed enough to care, right? Sam, you get like that's just not.
No, correct. And I'm definitely not saying people should.
And if I cared, I would. But I think personally, the bags that I have personally, I think if I hold them for the next 2 years, I probably won't have to worry about money any longer. I believe that to be true, and that's my mission statement. And I could give a rat's ass what everyone else is doing. They got it. You got it. If somebody makes $1 million trading shit, you are a pimp ass pimper. Like you crushed it, dude. But I know myself. I've woke up in this body so many times. I can predict my negative outcomes because I have these mental tendencies where I get lazy with certain subjects. You not so much from what I noticed. You stay strict on stuff and still you stop doing it. I fall off and stop doing shit. Like I start to dislike it. It's like emotional for me. And then, that's why I always ask you for favors that are like more detailed because I'm like, oh, he'll remember this and for sure be paying attention at this moment. Guys, how's everyone in the chat doing? 1 in the chat if you're feeling good. 2 in the chat if you want us to have a special guest on. So that's a 1 and a 2 in the chat, guys. Biceps in the chat. I'm going to go put a tank on. Brand, great to see you. Let me jump through a couple of these. Brand, great to see you. Crypto Gains Club 369. My best friend, Hex Siren, how are you doing? Erwin, great to see you. John May, are you serious? Bullish, producer Bullish in the background. Great to see you, Bullish. He's been going absolutely ham. Sam, I think we should run the fitness challenge real quick. Regroup our thoughts. Run the fitness challenge. Sam, we have almost 150 signups.
Okay, so let me finish this example. Or you want to go into the fitness and we'll come back to this because there's a couple more things.
Questions. I was thinking of these 2 questions and I know I'm going to forget them right away.
Go ahead and say them now because then people can remind you in the chat.
No, I'm going to write them down. I'm going to run this ad real quick so I can have a second to think. Guys, if you haven't signed up already, cryptofitnesschallenge.com. It's an absolutely free fitness challenge. Don't put your real phone number in there, please, or any phone number. I do not want your phone number. It's optional. Why did everyone put their phone number in there? GRC will never know. But, guys, put an email in there for your Twitter. GRC, Sam, $15,000 in prizes. Lots of shit going on. I'll explain it right afterwards. I got to get my thoughts on it. All right, Sam, real quick.
Yeah.
Producer Bullish asked me a question. And no, I want to cover the fitness challenge for a second because there has been a couple of questions. Can you tell me, because I know I haven't talked to you, some of the questions that you've been getting asked, and then I can tell you some of the ones that I've been getting asked?
Yes. Oh, so I've gotten questions related to the app not working. So why don't I ask you the question, you answer it, and then when you can get the questions and ask me, and then I will answer them. So GRC, why isn't the app working when I register for the fitness challenge and I download the app? Why isn't it working? You're muted.
Okay, so on May 1st, you can download the app right now. But on May 1st, that's when the app and all the features go live. So right now, you can just have the app downloaded, Wodify app. All you need is an email. Have it downloaded, but just know May 1st on the show Sunday, that's when we're all going to do the switch over, just showing everyone some of the detail. So May 1st, guys, there's a couple more days to sign up. Yep. Let me talk about the sponsors real quick.
And just as a correction, make sure you're searching Wodify Rise. And if you just want to play it safe, go to the website and you'll have direct links to the download.
Wodify Rise right here.
Yes, sir.
Wodify Rise. If you go to cryptofitnesschallenge.com, like just click on either one of these. This will take you to the App Store or the Play Store, and you'll be able to pull it up. But let's go back up here. You wanted to talk about these real quick?
Yeah. So thank God for these great hexagons and my sponsor, Shield Masters. 3 custom shields. Whoever wins, there's 3 winners. This is so Bullish. I actually wanted to ask you something because you mentioned earlier. As far as the winners for the contest, there's going to be 3 winners. One is picked by me and Sam Stoll. One is a community pick. The other one is due to the leaderboards on the app Wodify Rise. And whoever scores the most points gets the win for that bracket. Are we right, Bullish?
We'll come back to the sponsors.
That is correct.
Okay, good. So, guys, sorry, I'm just a gym rat.
No, it's all right. Let's cut through. We'll come back to the sponsors, but let's answer those questions that other questions you've been getting.
Yes, sir. So it's mostly about the app and the interaction with it. All you need to do is download the Wodify Rise app. You do not need to do anything right now. So please, if you go to cryptofitnesschallenge.com, everything is right there. It's as clear as day. You go to the sign up at the bottom, put in your email. Do not put in your phone number. If anyone has any questions, I will keep my DMs open today for fitness challenge questions. So any fitness challenge questions, you can just shoot me a quick one.
My bad.
You're good. Anyway, so we could talk about that a little towards the end too. I don't want to mess up the mojo too much in the middle. Guys, cryptofitnesschallenge.com. My DMs are open today. I'm working all day, so it's fine.
So what do people have to do to win each one of those 3 prizes, right? Because that's also another question that I've got. So the leaderboard, you got to do things in the app. Hey, post a picture of your food, do your 10 minutes of cardio, et cetera, and you get points for everything you do. If you're at the top of the leaderboard, so every day getting in there and doing those things that are in your best interest, to eat healthy, to be active in your life, right? You do those things, and that's how you win the leaderboard one. The community-driven one, right? If you're really big in the community and you are how is a community one to be driven? Obviously, it's going to be part of the community, but also the pictures are going to be voted on, I would assume. Right, Bullish?
Right. So by the end of towards the end of the challenge, we'll have something in place that will allow the community to vote on who they think should win the prize. So something like that will be in place. And also just to touch on the leaderboard winner. We have the ability to adjust your points. So if we feel that you're cheating the system, we will drop you down. And and just also as another, before the question comes up, yes, Sam is involved. Yes, Jim Rat is involved. Most likely they will be crushing the leaderboard on day 89. We will, take tally of that, adjust their points so we can drop them down to get an accurate figure of who's really winning the leaderboard. Because they're going to be having a separate competition between Motley,
me and Sam, and Motley and everyone. I'm just getting so ripped already. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't even know what to say. I've been going hard for like another 2 weeks, dude. And everything's already starting to fill out again. It feels so great because I really did take my body to the next level last year. And now my body's fluffing up to that area a lot easier, Sam. But anyway, I don't want to go into this. I want to go
So,
right back.
so hold on, let me answer a question. So, someone's asking, how do we cheat? Very simple. Saying you completed the task without doing it, and then through progress pictures, we can realize that this guy's just been like, or this, this person's just been
Bullish. So
work.
people are going to need to put, if you want to win the prizes, you're going to have to upload pictures on there. You don't need your headshot on them or anything, but there's going to be weekly, right? I'm assuming, right? Is that
Correct.
accurate, Bullish?
Right.
Weekly photos. There's going to be 3 front, back, and side. That's it.
Right. And
69 likes on the button.
Yeah, and another thing too, from a OPSEC perspective, a lot of people have been entering their phone number. Just a reminder, your phone number is not a requirement for anyone who's signed up already. Go to the website, edit your profile. You're unable to do it from the app, but go to your profile from the website and remove your phone number. There's absolutely no reason why we need that or to put it out there. So,
but we were not able to actually delete that.
we were not able to remove.
We asked about it. Yep.
But it's not a requirement. So for those who put their phone number in, you can go back into the profile, edit your profile, and delete the number.
And that's somewhere on here. Once you click register, I believe you can get back in here. And
man, I know you want to move on, but before we move on, Sam, do you want to talk about some of the pie charts that we shared?
No, you're good.
Yes, because this is super interesting. We have some data that we've been able to actually put together, which I found fascinating. So look at this. We have primarily dudes and then other people who are just not sure if they're dude or female or don't want to say kind of thing. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
We call them aliens.
We've got some aliens in there as well. So the aliens are going to be competing against humans, right?
Only GRC can get 14% girls on a crypto challenge. Guys,
we need to increase that number. We need to increase that number.
All you girls, reach out to your girls, okay? Reach out to your best friends, your best girlfriends. Go to the gym. Say, hey, we got this challenge. If you participate, you can win some free money, and you get to post pictures, post your meals, learn a lot of stuff. I'm going to be trying to interact with the app as much as I physically possibly can fit into my schedule, which I think will be quite a bit.
As of today, the prize pool is worth over $16,000 US.
Did you hear that, guys? 16 USD. Actually, I want to win. I'm actually going to quit doing the show, and for the next 90 days, I'm just going to compete in this 90-day challenge. So for anybody who wants to win, you should just quit right now because I'm going to actually win. I'm going to quit doing the show. Obviously, I'm being facetious, but $16,000. On Sunday, we'll probably have another update on that number, but it's going to be split between 3 winners in some way, shape, or form. We haven't decided exactly how this is going to happen, but I mean, 16 grand, 5 grand, even if it was split evenly, which it may or may not be, is a decent chunk for improving your own life, right? Like improving your confidence in yourself and learning about fitness and taking action on your life. So, that seems like a good thing to me, especially when it doesn't cost anything. This is a pie chart of the actual countries that have entered. We have a global crypto fitness challenge, guys. A global. Look at this. Australia represented. Is Tangent in here? Australia is 4% of the total. That's kind of interesting. And one more chart here, which I found kind of interesting. If you guys like the data here, make sure you press the like button on the channel. So if
you like the data, make sure you unfollow from Sam's Twitter.
You can check my Twitter down below. You just
I already said the funny part, so you don't get to say anything after. I'm gonna mute GRC. You guys can check out my Twitter link down below. My contest is actually beating GRC in terms of followers on Twitter over the next 90 days. He has enough followers. You don't need to follow him. He's got plenty. You can go follow my account. Just skip past his, go to mine, press follow, say, what's up, bro? Follow the show. Hope you're doing amazing. And that would be super, super helpful so that I can win that challenge. But this is interesting. Look at all the information they put in here, GRC. What are their goals? Health, tone, strengthening and toning, NAD gains. Mad gains, but the biggest portion is weight loss. We're going to be covering a lot of stuff with weight loss. Weight gain is 18%. There's no other topic on Pat. If I had to pick one topic because I'm always a value suck, right? I love to be in the position to give the most value. And in the fitness world, in my opinion, it's not the muscle gaining that's the most valuable because of the bodies. Certainly there's more people that are overweight. It's just some people have preferences of what they like. I love teaching people how to be less overweight, even in the beginning, if they're not healthy still, getting some of that weight off, Sam. When you see some of that weight coming off, I feel like it motivates people to start doing other things correctly. It's like, you know what I mean? A little bit.
Yeah. Because people are starting to take action.
In the mirror, you're like, can I do one more thing this today? Maybe broccoli instead of French fries?
Great point. Sorry to interrupt. Great point. $16,000 worth of prizes. I believe I saw in the chat earlier for the production for the show, Bullish had mentioned that there's an address set up, we're in the process of setting up an address for this, and it should be on the site relatively soon. What Par Excellence just mentioned, this $16,000 worth of prizes is primarily Hex. So if this is a 90-day challenge, there is a decent possibility that $16,000 worth of Hex is worth $37,000 or $57,000.
Could be $100,000.
Right. And once you add the address, people can decide to throw in Ethereum, Edron, Maxi. Who knows?
I wonder at what dollar amount would it rip me apart emotionally and I'd have to steal it.
Well, that's not going to happen.
Well,
we're going to have multi-sig set up. We're going to have multi-sig set up.
Multi-sig wallet. GRC can't go get a couple beers and go nuts. There's multi-sig, Motley, me, Bullish, Sam. It's multi-sig, so you have to have everyone sign off.
And it's not going to be set up a 3 out of 4. It's going to be set up 4 out of 4. So we all have to be in agreement to confirm any transaction.
Yarg, good point, Yarg. I mean, I make the rules, so I could really do whatever I want. No.
So yes, this is going to be held in a wallet for the launch of Pulsechain, assuming Pulsechain launches at some point in the month of May or even June or part of July, right? So there's probably going to be a double for whoever has this wallet just by itself. So 16 turns into 32, right? So you have 32, and that's assuming the price doesn't increase. If the price increases, that could easily get to 50 grand worth of prizes. I'm glad that somebody brought that up. Think about that. You get to improve your life. And if we look at that chart, right, drop body fat or gain muscle were the two biggest things, right? Improve your confidence.
I'm keeping my eyes out for that skinny guy who puts on a couple lbs of muscle. I know how hard that can be sometimes when you're new and you don't know how to push it yet. Like, because one thing you learn in the gym after the years is you learn how to push it, right? Like I did a set of bicep curls yesterday, and I swear to God, I almost cried when I was done but it wasn't that big of a deal, right? Like it's just a normal set of bicep curls. But I'm so used to back when I used to work out in high school, I don't even remember feeling the muscle sweat.
Hey, I've got a question for you, and I'm sorry, but I'm thinking about the Hex. What do you guys think? Bullish can chime in on this if he wants to.
Hold on, that's important to read real quick. 4 of 4 multi-sig is bad if someone forgets their password. I'm making a tutorial for Methasula Foundation, $400 million of crypto. I can share that. That would be cool.
It's something to consider for sure. I appreciate that. We'll have everything, and we'll be 100% transparent in all of transactions that are taking place. And obviously,
they said, why not stake it for 90 days?
That's literally what I was about to say. Why not stake it for 90 days? What do you guys think in the chat? Should we take the Hex?
I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's enough Hex to care. Personally, but I mean, what it'll be. Let's think. I could probably do this in my head.
I'll pull up a calculator right now.
Well, let's see how close I can get then. So if 100,000 Hex at 3%, I'd say you get like 380 Hex, maybe something like that. No, it would be it would be less than that. It would probably
let me pull this up real quick, and we'll run through.
Just 5555 it.
Here's another thing we didn't think about. There's a copy.
Yes, no, correct. That's why I said it could be a double.
So technically, 200,000 Hex.
Yes, you could get a double when it could be parity very, 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 very quickly.
Oh my God, guys. I'm starting to lose my cool in general. Like I can feel myself like losing my cool because I want this. I'm just so excited.
100K. You're actually going to, I mean, as long as it launches, you're going to get 200.
All right, calculate that, bitch.
That's 200. 200K. So we should do 100 because that's more accurate, right?
Yeah,
At least for the time being. Oh, let's see. Where we have the total payout would be $16,000 during that time.
So you'd make 1.3. Wait, no. $426. Damn, I'm good. Yeah, so that's $426, and I would say I'd rather not for the 400.
Yeah, we'd rather not. And some people just to get more people excited and to encourage more people to sign up. Some people already have contacted us, and they're just waiting for us to provide them with the address for them to send additional crypto into the wallet. So there's a lot more we haven't announced yet.
And if anybody is super close with somebody at Staker and they would like to sponsor, or if you own a company that you're like, hey, this is cool, it's not something that I would plan on doing for myself, but I think this is awesome. It's also a fan-freaking-tastic way to talk to all your friends about crypto, right? Hey, you want to do a fitness challenge for summer? You want to get in the best shape of your life? You can talk to them about crypto throughout the challenge, right? Because it's clearly going to be undertone.
Hey, Sam, after you got off the show yesterday, you thought I was wrapping up, but I actually had a surprise guest come on, Matty All In Hex Therapy Live, and we had a conversation yesterday, and it was kind of like impromptu. I just was like, hey, you want to jump on stream? And he was like, sure. Really good stuff. He loves talking about mental health, stuff like that, definitely, but he also likes to talk about, I could tell he was well-versed, well-researched. And I don't think that about most people. I really don't. I think most people are absolutely not well-researched. So Matty, I would love to have a private, public conversation about mental health, drugs, side effects, everything. This guy, I liked the way he was thinking about this stuff, and I don't believe the FUD. Like, I know everyone's got haters, but this dude does a lot for this community, bro. Like, he's the guy who put on the Hex conference.
Oh, dope! This is going to be a very, very good time.
Sam, how happy are you to be like me too? Like, how happy are you to be just like doing something that's enjoyable to you?
I feel that's why I feel like I'm retired. I feel
totally retired. I feel like I'm done, guys. Like, this is so fun to me that I'm like waking up every day. Like, let's do fun stuff.
Right? Like we just get to talk on the internet, and we get to learn and do it. Like, I mean, it's awesome. I'm very, very thankful. I'm very blessed. I'm hopeful that more people can find that peace inside of themselves to feel that life is whatever they want to create through this process of like a fitness journey or whatever to get them started, because that's what it is once you start taking action on all the things that you want to do, it's crazy, right? Because then shit really starts to move fast in your life, and you have a level of peace mentally that you've never had before. You have a little of fulfillment.
I've never felt so peaceful. And I get hate all the time, but I've never even felt close to the amount of peace that I have now. Never, ever. Never thought it was possible either. I was under the impression that I was not allowed to feel this way for another 25 years.
Do you think RH will sign up? Well, I think if every single 77 people who are watching goes over to Twitter and tags RH with the fitness challenge website or something, and says, hey,
go spam RH for me real quick. So
I'll just like block the show.
I hate to spam him, but I just spam him like crazy anyway. Like, it's just my tick. It's my nervous tick. I love spamming. So now you don't have to spam on anything, but I think we should. And you never know. He might have a burner, so we can't really assume that he's not in it.
And now that we think about it, he's going to be in great company because majority of the people here for weight loss. Hey,
that's a lot of people.
He's going to have a large tribe,
competition
helping him out.
What if RH won the competition fair and square? How badass would that be? What if Valiant Brand wins the competition? I'm going to just give him all my freaking seed phrases because that'll be so absolutely sick. You know what I mean? Guys, real quick, special guest, drop the mic. This guy's been all over the scene lately.
What's up?
Now it's a party, dude. Looking swaggy. I like how you're feeling out yourself, getting a little vibe before the stream, bro. How are you doing? Yeah. I've been watching you. Like, you're my new favorite YouTuber.
Thanks, man. Well, no, I come in here every morning, man. This is how I get my day started. So I got a little walk in and stuff like that. But although I'm not in the fitness challenge with y'all, because mostly I don't need to be shamed by how impressive some of y'all are, I'm still trying to go with that movement though, and do healthier things, eat healthier, and exercise.
I want to remind people that we do the undertone of everything we do is, yes, me and Sam have been bodybuilding for a long, long time, him longer than me, but we are just promoting be a little bit better every day. Please go for that walk. Please go to that doctor's appointment. Please eat better. That's at the end of the day, we want everyone to just win. We all want this to work. So if you're really fat and lousy and mentally unfit, you're going to be upset. So let's just take 1% about the mentally fit and but no getting ripped, not important for the average person getting ripped, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So just a little bit about my fitness background. I used to be really big into athletics, did a lot of even horseback riding and stuff like that, which is pretty demanding physically. And I got a pretty wicked sports injury playing some basketball with some friends. I got a steal, went on a fast break, went up for a layup, and there were some steel bleachers right behind the baseline. And my momentum carried me, and I was kind of looking up at the rim to finish the shot, and my eyes just flashed white. And the next thing I know, I'm on the ground. My kneecap had basically gone and tabletop straight into the steel bleachers. And sorry, my coffee maker just went off on me. And I'm laying on the ground, and my knee is totally dislocated. It was the second time I've dislocated my knee. And all my friends are grossed out, so they didn't want to help me. And we actually called.
I'm grossed out, and I'm just hearing the story.
Yeah, man. Yeah, trust me, it was pretty shitty being there. So we called a high school physical trainer who was the only medical person that we knew immediately in our contact. And she goes, "Well, someone's gonna have to fix that knee, or else he's gonna be in a lot worse shape in about 30 minutes." And so I go, "Well, what are we gonna do to fix it?" And she goes, "Well, someone's gonna have to grab his kneecap and pull it to the sky, and then he's
I'll
gonna
let
have
you
to
finish the story.
squat."
I'm gonna take this down for a minute.
You bet. So I looked around at my friends, my faithful homies. Save my life, please. My knee is messed up. No, I'm not helping you. So I actually had to go and grab my own kneecap, lift it to the sky, flex my quad to pop back in, and I've never felt pain like that before. But since then, it's been real tough to exercise, and my knee gets tender sometimes, especially if I gain weight. So I'm really trying to slim down, and I don't really want to focus too much on the bulking up yet until I get my cardio in check and my body fat percentage down, stuff like that.
Hey, how is your knee feeling when you walk?
When I walk, it's okay. Every now and then I'll hit a weird angle where it feels like the tendons directly below the kneecap, it's almost like they're not flexible enough. And so I get this feeling when you go, and how you reach for your toes, you do a good stretch and your hamstrings kind of burn. It's that kind of burn right in the tendons of the whatever's right below my kneecap. And I'm not sure if it's a flexibility issue or if it's rubbing something weird, but it kind of gives you a reminder and you go, "Oh, wait, I'm not 100%.
Can you squat without discomfort or pain in your knee?
I can. Now, I haven't done any loaded squats. I haven't put any weight on it, but just body squats, I can do them. I could probably rep out 20 of them, and I don't think it would be an issue for the knee.
Okay. The only time you notice it is sometimes when you're walking, correct?
Yeah, and just every now, if I were to try and stretch and go on my toes and knees, kind of down on all fours even, it's pretty sensitive to increased pressure. So my right knee can handle my body weight fine, but my left knee doesn't really like to have the extra weight on it.
Have you ever heard of backwards walking or tibialis training or sissy squats?
No.
Or reverse sled pulls and stuff? So one of the things, pretty simple to think about, if you walk forwards every day,
mm-hmm.
you can create issues with your knees potentially, right? And one of the things that we don't train is walking backwards.
Yeah.
There was I think it was lumberjack people that were working in the forest, and then they have to grab these trees and they have to walk backwards, and they didn't have any issues with their knees.
Really?
The walking backwards, you end up putting a little stress on your knee. Don't do it if it's painful or discomfort. Just go to the point right before that, and it ends up increasing the blood flow because you can actually heal your tendons and ligaments. It's just there's no blood flow there.
Right.
Blood flow is going to bring the oxygenated blood. It's also going to bring the nutrients needed to help repair that and growth factors. So by doing things like that, or
mm-hmm.
if you're in the gym like I am, and say if this is your calf, so you train your calf, your tibialis is on the opposite side of your calf, right?
Mm-hmm.
But nobody ever trains the tibialis, and then that
right.
can create issues. with it.
What
So,
are some exercises to do for the tibialis then?
There's a guy that has a lot of really good information around knee health, knees over toes
Okay.
fellow, on YouTube. He's going to have far more in depth, but like tibialis, there's a machine at my gym that uses it. You can put your butt against the wall and then your foot flat on the floor, maybe like 6 to 12 inches away from. The further you are away, I believe the more challenging it is. So if you're 6 to 12 inches away from the wall, lift your toes up like this is going to flex the tibialis.
Gotcha.
Right? And do like 20 reps of those per foot.
Dude, I appreciate that. That's big, man. Because when I first injured it, so like I said, it was the second time I had a knee injury, and the first time I actually healed really quickly because there was no structural damage. I walked around without crutches even for probably like 2 weeks, and then I was like, man, I actually need crutches. This is going the wrong way. And because when I went to the ER that night and the X-rays came back negative, I ended up getting an MRI, and there was about a golf ball sized chunk of cartilage that knocked right off the knee. So I didn't do myself any favors, and then I was pretty lazy about the rehab because I guess I just was like resting on my laurels. I'm used to healing so fast. You know, when I was younger, it felt like I could do anything and I'd be back in a day. And this is one of those times where the healing was a lot slower. It wasn't as, wasn't nearly as smooth. So I appreciate those tips.
I have a pretty bum foot, like not gonna lie, that I didn't take care of it all, that I broke rock climbing, and it's always been rough. Like I can.
Do you ever get like mental blocks? Like, do you ever if you ever notice the pain, do you kind of feel like, oh, this isn't as stable as I want to feel? Like my body.
I'm so aggressively playing sports still that like it's just
nice.
like I still play soccer and stuff like that. So it's like obviously not that big a deal, but like there's times where like after I run real hard, like I can't walk the whole next day.
Nice. Yeah, I can understand that.
Anyway, guys, we gotta talk for a minute. Tomorrow we're gonna talk more about the bodybuilding stuff. We have been totally off topic since I switched the topic. Sam, let's get back to it. We got Orca here. Okay.
Yeah, dude.
Orca.
Sam's been feeding me some of the
far so good. What have you seen, Orca, where he's getting at? Obviously, we understand that if you pay $5,000, you get a 6X on that. That's pretty clear. And that would be 25%. In general, what do you think about this method? Like, I think it's obvious, but let's go.
So, Orca, how about, because I was going to talk about the tax benefits. So I wrote up here, say if you did pay $5,000 interest, right? Because in the first example here, we didn't factor in any interest. But now, if you factor in interest, why don't you touch on why interest can actually be benefit? Like, yeah, if you can get 0%, great. But like interest is not totally horrible. And even if your rate is, say, 5% interest, your effective rate is actually lower than 5% because of taxes. Like, I don't know if you want to touch on this.
Yeah, so obviously taxes are an expense, right? I think you touched on that earlier. And some expenses can be written off. Now, in the case of like loans, and you're talking about real estate, there's also like the amortization schedule that you would be interested in. And so there is really like, when we talk about borrowing and utilizing money to kind of get ahead of where we started, you really do, you're basically just taking a bet against the bank that you can borrow money better than they can loan it to you. And that's really not that hard in crypto, depending on your time horizon, right? If it's a 30-day bet, that's a really tough bet. But if you open that up to about 2 years, go look at the Bitcoin chart for the last 2 years, you did fine. There's no bank in the world that's charging interest rates like that. And so a little bit of interest is okay. It gives you more to play with if you're not paying things off immediately and you actually go through the payment schedule. It increases the flexibility as well as some of the benefits that you can write off. Your taxes may actually be working for you, just given your other expenses and some of your spending habits. And so you can actually get out further ahead by having that little extra obligation.
So if in this example, say if somebody was writing off, they paid interest of $5,000, right? So instead of having a 6X, it's going to be a 5X, right? Because they have to pay the interest, right? In the first example, there was no interest. Well, that $5,000 of interest, if it's for business purposes, you can write it off. And for business purposes is like you just have to.
You got to just justify it, right?
Yeah, you just have to exactly perfectly. Thank you. I was trying to put on that very nicely. Be creative with a very good justification, and you'll be good. That's
Wait,
if you're
wait.
30%.
So
That's
my
1,500.
question was the question that I wrote down was so in order to take money off your house, you need income, right?
Not necessarily. I'm doing a loan right now because
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about that later. I want to talk
Mhm.
about that in private. I don't care. That's too. Let's not get into the nuance of that on stream.
Okay.
Actually.
Sure.
But if you wouldn't mind talking to me about that.
Yes, no, 100%. And I don't mind. I don't mind sharing what I'm doing, and not saying that anybody else should do that. But you
Mhm.
can get a loan without necessarily providing income verification. So what does that mean to the bank? It means that the bank isn't going to ask you for income. The income is a way for them to kind of like verifiably reduce their risk, right? Or it just says he makes this amount, and then they look at their income and he makes this amount or this amount or whatever the case is. So they verify whatever he's saying is accurate, and then this based upon his DTI, which is your debt to income, like how much. Like he's paying on a credit card, he's paying on a house, he's paying on a car, right? All that together divided by his income gives you a DTI, right? So that if that gives you an idea of the discretionary income Orca would have to be able to pay on the mortgage. If you don't have that piece, it increases the risk. So what are they going to do? They're going to raise up the interest rate.
Yep, exactly. That's their thing, right? The same way that we look at high risk, high reward in crypto, the bank looks at it as high risk. I need more. I need to be able to take a little bit more from you because you're not giving me a lot of peace of mind that you are a valid credit worthy lender. So, but I think obviously, Sam, your credit's probably outstanding. And so the bank is happy to write Sam loans and say, hey, man, we'll go spend this money and pay us back, please. And so that's where I really love the strategy of putting that into crypto, because you're better at the market than the bank can be. They're very limited in their scope.
And the things, so when you look at Aave, or we touched on it for half a second earlier, fiat, right, is something that's going to be coming as a copy of Aave from my very elementary understanding, or similar to Aave, where you can take your crypto and borrow against your crypto like you could with liquid loans, but just with Pulse. However,
well, they're different.
Fiat,
they're different.
Well, they're both lending protocols, so to speak, but they do differ in many different ways.
I looked at them both just for like the specifics of the people that would actually care about the specifics. I looked at them both, and there is definitely a clear difference, obviously, with the stable coin and liquid loans. That's all I'm saying, just because I was talking to the guy, just so I want to be clear if he's watching.
So don't think anybody, if I say liquid loans and fiat or Aave, they're fucking different. Like, you need to understand the details. But the idea of both is that you can lend, you can borrow against your crypto holdings.
Right.
So
and that's actually really beneficial, right? Because the funds that you're pulling as a DeFi loan, that's a non-taxable event. And so you can access kind of like your personal equity without being beholden to the capital gains tax or your income tax.
Let's do an example. 100K of crypto who doesn't borrow but needs $20,000, and they're paying 30%, and $100,000 who uses a borrowing protocol.
Yeah. So if you're dealing with going through and taking a loan, I mean, still taking a loan is no issue. That wouldn't be taxable if you structure it correctly. But the point of the DeFi loan is that you're going to get a way better rate on the interest because there's no middleman that needs to take the fees. And then basically it's a way to avoid, say that you have a huge run up in your Pulsechain bag in the instance of like liquid loans, and you want to access that purchasing power. You might not want to take a 30% hit or a 40% hit in taxes on capital gains. And you might not want it to be registered as like income if you're taking it through a business entity. And so utilizing the loan allows you to kind of displace that capital gains taxable event until further down the road, whenever you do decide to liquidate that position and things like that. Now, if your loan gets liquidated, that becomes a taxable event. So if you take a DeFi loan and you fail to pay your incremental obligations, and it becomes under collateralized and somebody is able to liquidate your position in that loan, then that is a taxable event. So that can be a risk that people should be aware of.
So if you were to say, look at what we were talking about, GRC mentioned it or previewed it like an hour ago, 45 minutes ago. If somebody has $100,000 of crypto and they need, say, 20 grand for something, or say if they want to access, it's not going to necessarily play out this way, but just for simplicity's sake, say they have $100,000 of crypto that they need to pull out. What is the basis of that? What does that mean? Like, how much do they pay for that? Well, if you get something for free, that means your basis is zero. You're taxed on all of that from a long, probably could be long term, might be short term, depending on how long you've held it. Which means that you might be taxed on like 15 to 20%, or you might be taxed on like your full. If you're in New York City, like some people are, you have New York City tax, you have New York State tax, and you have federal tax you need to pay on this shit. So you got to not only pay that tax, which we talked about is, you know, a couple of people mentioned is theft. I might agree with that potentially, right? But also you lose any future earnings that 100K of crypto could benefit.
Right, and that's a huge double whammy because we know how strong crypto can be. So that's why when you read the books, the finance books, that try to teach people the tricks of the trade, like they say that the people that are wealthy and have a lot of assets and stuff, they just collateralize against their assets. They don't want to sell and experience increased tax and then lose out on future
I'm kind of over the wealthy thing too. Like people keep saying,
but it's just
true. Like, even if you're not wealthy, you should at this point, because the dollar's so trash that wealthy people are poor. You know what I mean? Like, it's true. Like literally, my dad makes, and I'm not, let's say an example. Somebody makes I know people that make 300, 400K a year, and they're like 2 months of like backup debt. Like, no, not backup debt, but like they could pay like 2 or 3 months of their business without. And I'm like, you make so much capital. How is that possible? Literally, so much capital. Just in actual fiat dollars, you're like, you could use 0.02 of that into Ethereum and still make redonkulous gains. Not Bitcoin.
That's why more and more people are doing it, though. They're beginning to expose themselves to that increased volatility because there aren't a lot of superior alternatives out there.
Orca, what can you is having fiat denominated fixed debt a thing that is beneficial going into a quote hyperinflation environment in the
Absolutely, man. Thanks for the T-ball questions. Absolutely. So when you think about like what it means to take a loan, right? There's fixed rate loans, there's variable rate loans, and a variable rate loan is able to adjust with the interest rates of the economy or with the fluctuation of the purchasing power of the dollar. And that makes banks more competitive because they can't really lose in the situation that the economy takes significant turns in the short term. But when you lock in a fixed rate loan, that means the interest rate that you're going to be obliged to pay is locked. No one can change it up or down unless you go and refinance. And so as inflation increases and the cost of debt increases, you're locked in. So you're paying yesterday's rates long into the future, when somebody else who's either on a variable setup or they're just now beginning, they're going to incur a totally different and probably less competitive interest rate.
Can you why does the cost of debt increase in when you have high inflation?
So in order for inflation to sort of be tamped down, the Federal Reserve enacts monetary policy to sort of rebalance the economy in a way that the corporate AAA bond debt that is largely what finances the markets that we know of and that banks like to purchase, they need to be able to make good on their investments. And so the Fed can change interest rates to allow more conservative investments that help the government, like purchasing bonds, become more attractive. And when this is happening, the only way that they can drive that is to increase the quote unquote effective interest rate. And that's kind of what Sam was alluding to. And that will affect variable interest rate loans and mortgages and things like that. So if you know that the economy is going into some unsettling times, maybe it's been propped up for 2 years by some crazy event, and the Federal Reserve has been pumping cash into the system so that they can keep equities markets supported. Well, the chickens come home to roost eventually, and the only way they can account for all of that free money they gave you is to make money or make lucrative bets by increasing interest rates and sort of sucking the money back into their pocket, as opposed to this kind of like free giveaway that had been going on. So if you're locked in at a fixed rate, as that adjustment occurs and other people begin to handle much larger interest rates, like a new home buyer today is probably facing a much larger interest rate than they would have 6 months ago. And so if you had locked in at fixed rate 6 months ago, you're going to be at a more competitive loan than anybody in the market can go out and buy today.
Yeah, and in the future, as Orca was just mentioning, the inflation is high, and I believe it will probably go higher. So as that takes place, you get to use future dollars, right, or crypto earnings, in this case that we've been talking about, if that was somebody's prerogative, they get to use these future crypto earnings that are accelerating far faster than inflation is to pay back crappy dollars that have been going down in value. So you have this thing that's going down over time because of the inflation. The cost of your debt is effectively coming down over time during an inflationary time period. So like this
100%.
is this is going to continue to happen as people take fiat and plow it into crypto. It's going to just happen in a more aggressive manner. So some people like me, where they're going to take out fiat loans and put it into crypto. Other people are just going to, just funnel, their earnings into crypto as they realize like the future, what's happening.
Yeah. And I had spoken to Sam on his channel, but this is what we were kind of talking about at the time. And I went out and took on additional debt kind of in the peak of the zero interest rate era, so that I knew I'm going to outperform 0%. And I also have enough reserve that it's a zero risk to me. And so I'm happy to take the bank's free money, essentially, because I'm aware of the relative returns that I could either get in the market or that the bank is going to expect in interest rates, as well as what crypto has to offer.
It's like, there's some stuff in LP, like liquidity providing, you're earning 10% a month. Like that's stupid. Like you try to tell that to somebody in legacy, and they're gonna like walk away or think that you're like a clown. But try to tell anybody at a bank that you could get 10% in a month, and they would think that you're an idiot, like don't know what they're talking about. This guy's like a quack. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Dude, we had a guy in a Twitter space last night whose dad works for the FBI and who's like pretty high up in the FBI. And he said that they have no fucking idea what Bitcoin is. They don't know how it works. Like they don't understand it. And he was like, they were like having discussions like, we're really concerned about how these Russian oligarchs are using crypto, but they like didn't really understand how the censorship resistance is the reason. They thought it's like because they're going on Silk Road to buy gold from China. Like, no, man, that's not what's going on. So that's how early you are. Is even the FBI is trying to crack the code on Bitcoin still. So.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think about the chart? Everything going next, kind of moving up. I mean, obviously it's just a small little sample size, but like, hold on.
I think
fake pump is no more. This is real pump.
You think it is?
But I don't think it's going to last that long. Do you think it's going to last after launch? I think there might be a sell-off. I think people are moving their ERC crap tokens into Hex to get a faster double.
Agree. No, I totally agree with it.
Maybe.
100%.
Maybe. I think that the combined value of, and I'm only speaking for Hex here because every coin will be different, but the combined value of what remains in that power on Ethereum Hex, and I think it'll actually be pretty substantial. I don't think it's going to just go down 90% or anything.
No way.
Plus the Pulse Hex, I think it'll be more valuable than what we have on the current price of Hex. So maybe you're getting a sell-off, but I think you're still coming out on top. And then I think if you closed your eyes and you fell asleep for 3 months, you'd be surprised at how much higher the price of Hex has become.
People don't understand their APY. People are going to chase that APY whether there's gas fees or not. There's rich people and they don't care about gas fees that much.
Yeah, I mean, especially if I'm staking out 15 years, a one-time fee is not going to kill me. I don't care.
Especially because a lot of market makers are guys that have bigger bags, and it's like,
right.
You know what I mean? Their strategy is going to be so much different than all the plebs that are, or including me, just like doing random shit with their stuff.
Sure. I think you'll see too, like on the Ethereum chain, until we have a real solid roadmap to get us to a lower fee environment, I think you'll continue to see that average stake like go out and out and out, because that length sort of allows you to hedge against the development of Ethereum 2.0 and, beyond just 2.0, getting a fee reduced environment for Ethereum. So the longer you stake, the higher your probability of when it comes time to pay that end stake fee, maybe it's actually accrued and the fees are way, way, way down in Gwei. So now you're not really getting hurt at all. So that can be sort of a benefit to the longer staking opportunity.
Do you think it's a lower risk move for somebody who does have hacks? Or so think of this person as somebody who's aware of Pulsechain, who is not necessarily into it as far as we are,
Sure.
But they understand that the person who created X also created these Pulsechain and Pulse. It's going to be launching. They understand a little bit that there's going to be some activity with the bridge when that launches. There's going to be some bag value there, whether, I highly doubt it's going to be anywhere near zero. I think it's going to be close to parity, right? But when that does take place, they're like, I have this ERC20. I will probably gain some type of value from this ERC20. Or I could move some of the, or just a stable, right, of some sort. I could move some of this into Hex, and I believe the risk-adjusted return of that is probably greater than holding the other ERC20, just because it is closely related.
Yeah, I think that's the no-brainer for me in terms of, like, if you had, right, because no one can know, it's speculation, but if you had to take the bet, you would bet on the cohesion of the vertical integration of brands, the awareness of brands, the strength of the token, because remember, not every token out there is immutable code and things like that. So there's nothing to say that you hold on to this ERC20, Pulsechain launches, and the devs go and rug pull. And now it's like, oh, wow, that was a stupid play, and it's worth nothing on the copy. So there is a lot of
unknown. There's a lot of unknown when we're talking about all this stuff. Like, shit can get whack in the world. Like, they can create fake. I don't want to get too much into that stuff, but, like, narratives can get brought up real quick that change the way every single human in this world thinks things are supposed to be, except for, like, a small few who actually pay attention. So
the last 2 years.
Yes. Yeah. Look at the last, everything in the last 2 years has been utter garbage. The last 5 years, basically garbage. And, the game is now garbage. That's the thing. It's like, to play the game, you have to go garbage. But what Hexicans are trying to do are trying to put enough Hexicans in every state in the United States, get enough people involved in legislation that are rich enough. Oh, yeah. Like, dude, I'll get involved in legislation if I'm rich enough. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, man. That's I do a lot of work for, like, trying to communicate with the local government. And I can tell you, man, they don't know. They don't know anything. But they actually, I'd say, like, 4 out of the 11 that I speak with pretty regularly are actually starting to become pretty crypto passionate. So, like, there is hope. There is public sector employees that actually enjoy the idea of giving people freedom back and giving them autonomy in their finance. So that's good to know.
Think about that world, though. Like, I mean, if the government didn't try to control it and they were just like, okay, hey, we're going to go on a 6-year, like, expansive education program, and its schools are actually just teaching about crypto. This is how you can. Could you imagine the impact on the populace?
There's huge real. So a lot of people like to play the boogeyman, kind of apocalyptic view of the world. Like, if crypto doesn't become the mainstream within 2 or 4, some arbitrary short timeline, then, like, the world ends. And I'm not really a doomsdayer, but I do appreciate why they might feel that way. But I don't know if you heard the story about Costa Rica recently. Costa Rica, as an entire nation, just got cyber attacked. And the financial data of every single one of them.
Can we pull up an article on that, Bullish?
Yeah, Bullish. He'll be able to find it quick. They actually, they're claiming it's some, like, Russian-speaking cyber hacker group is taking credit for it. Who knows how verifiable that information is? But the situation for them is that essentially overnight, their credit and their income has been devalued, and there is some interesting preluding variables that came into that. Costa Rica, which historically doesn't have a military, had begun forming small militias and had begun generally beginning military action just so that they would have sovereign control of their land and property. And almost within weeks, this cyber attack neutralized their financial system. So some people might look at that and go, wow, that's really scary. There's tyrants that are trying to suppress the individual freedom of nations. But the other side of that is, how many more nations do you want to have militarized? I like the idea of less military, personally. I understand ruling through strength is an effective form of keeping bad actors at bay, but I also don't think that you need 30,000 nuclear weapons to achieve that outcome. And crypto does present the opportunity for governments to deleverage their military asset, because the decentralized movement of finance and the transparency of it would make it easy enough to keep your eyes on bad actors or, terrorist organizations, things like that. And as long as you have enough of a funding presence, then you can defend yourself. So
you see people's like they're not valuing the impact of transparency enough that comes with crypto, and it's far more like they're not, because that's part of the equation is okay, you have this stuff that has these side effects, right? You have this thing that has these side effects. Where when you talk to people, and I see the same thing, and I personally don't. I understand value, and I tremendously value transparency, but I don't really factor that into my equation. That's probably why I saw that or see that, where not enough people add that factor in or increase the probability of the impact of having a bigger amount of transparency in the system, what happens with money. Because that's going to be crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, imagine.
Fashion Coder just signed up for the fitness challenge.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
I hope you put your phone number
You
in
guys
there.
said you have hundreds of people in this thing?
250 almost.
250.
Holy Jesus, that's awesome.
Guys, thank you so much. Hey, Fashion Coder, that's awesome. I really appreciate everyone. Guys, sign up for that. It's going to be great. And tomorrow we're actually having a professional bodybuilder on.
Nice. Yeah, you
Who's
guys have
up?
some serious contacts. I notice every now and then, a couple verified gym rats, if you will, and some really interesting folks who do far more than bodybuilding. If you kind of pay attention to the things they're passionate about, the bodybuilding seems to be more of a mindset and like a discipline that extends into all these other interests that they have. So don't ever be fooled just because, GRC and Sam can bench press Africa doesn't mean that they also don't have interest in other things. Like it's really kind of a consistent trait.
Real bodybuilders, real intellectual bodybuilders are some of the smartest people you'll find because they're so obsessed with it. Because there's so much nuance in bodybuilding. You're talking about biology mixed with outer stuff.
Yeah, man.
Working out, food, all combined. So yeah, no, some of the people I know in the fitness industry, I'm really excited to merge the fitness industry very slowly. Like there's nothing crazy going on, but like we're just gonna make it cool, right? Sam's a bodybuilder. He's been in the bodybuilding space forever. Like people are gonna know him, notice him as this gets more popular, and be like, oh yeah, Sam, like he's doing the crypto now. This shit's been legit for a little while now, Man. So in a year, this might look so different as far as the landscape of the way people look at crypto / the way people look at Pulsechain, a new project. All of the stuff aside, the way people look at new projects is going to change as we move forward. There's going to be easier ways to decipher what's going on. In 2 years, a new project's just going to be like, oh, guys, let's look into this real quick. And then we're going to have all the sources.
It'll be super easy.
I have all the friends I need to figure anything out now.
Those days are welcome. I can't wait. I hate having to dig through code. I want someone to do it for me.
but even like I think we talked about it briefly at one moment, like having a framework of like, okay, not having like, these are like the pinnacle of what a project could be, right? In terms of a framework you utilize to understand the security of something. Is there admin keys? Okay, well, you got to factor that in, right? And do they require your private keys, right? So if those two things, if there's admin keys and there's private keys you have to give up, okay, well, not necessarily that it's bad, not necessarily that it's a shitty thing.
Way better alternatives, way lower counterparty risk out there.
5 right now.
I told you, man. Real pump.
Climbing.
Real pump. And everything else is staying still. Where's your correlation now, Sam? Where's your correlation now, Sam?
Oh, did you see that? Do you see that? I was able to.
I'm not talking about the correlation chart.
No, I'm just messing with Sam. Just messing with Sam.
I can't go down that rabbit hole.
I
didn't get to see the video yet, but I will check it out.
Short-term correlations, obviously a different story because certain things have more adoption at certain times. Right. It's more like an adoption push. Like when Terra Luna's pumping and everything's not, I'm just like, oh, Terra Luna's kind of going through its adoption right now too.
But you know what Terra Luna's largest liquidity pair is? USDC.
I did not know that. That is interesting. That is very interesting. When you like, we don't need to get into the correlation stuff, but if you factor in yield, like there's virtually no correlation. The essence of the video.
That right there, what Sam just said is like crazy great information to have. He literally just told you that in a world where it's very difficult for things to break away from the greater kind of macro environment implications, this hex thing plus its yield built-in mechanic can separate you from virtually all of the weather around you. That's unheard of.
Hey guys, biceps in the
Yeah.
chat for Sandstorm. Sandstorm's in here live.
Nice.
Guys, we love Sandstorm. He's
who's
the
Sandstorm?
official Hexagon NFT onboarding superhero.
Dude, he's great. He talks to a ton of communities. He talks about Pulsechain with them. He's got a ton of people excited that would never have heard about it. And these are developers and stuff that are working on putting things on Ethereum. And he's saving their ass, man. He's saving their ass and showing them about Pulsechain and how they can save that money and give that opportunity for their customers to actually engage with their product. So that's really cool. Effort.
Yes, Benny Blanco, you're right. Real men are beginning to stand up in this world, including me. It took me a long time to figure out how to stand up for myself and the things I believed in, but I'm in that position now and no one can stop me.
And it's awesome. It is way more fun to
Powerhouse.
talk to people who are standing up for what they believe in, because you can butt heads on something, but then you get to learn from everybody else who's around you, who's like, yeah, I'm diving deep into my shit. I'm taking care of the shit in my life. Like, it is, I want to be around people who are successful, but also standing up for what they believe in, even if it's something different than what I believe in.
Sam, you'll stay on till 1, right? 27 minutes?
I'll stay on for a little bit longer. Probably at 12:45. 12:45. Wow.
Boom. Good for you guys. Smash the like, everyone. This has been one of the greatest shows. Smash the like. I love the shows that I don't plan for, and then they're really good just because they're fun and we're talking about good shit. But yeah, I've been talking all morning about Hex. We were in the talk spaces all morning from 4 a.m. on, talking to hundreds of people bringing up their stuff. Freaking Pulse Doge came in there acting all reckless. Freaking
of course.
No, dude, Pulse Doge is crazy, dude. That guy's
There's
crazy,
not a lot of tact to the presentation skills, but a lot of passion is how I
I told him too. I was like, props to you, kid. Like, you're crushing it, but you're whack job. Like, you know, I told him, like, you gotta chill out.
It's tough to, it's the same reason that
to
Richard tries to curse less
angle.
on stream. It's like
he's in defense mode. His guard's up, and I'm like, dude, we like your shit. You're crushing it. Like, you gave everyone free money. Just like accept that this is how life is. People talk shit all day long. I got people.
Man.
There's people that talk shit about you without knowing anything about you, but they just want to get clout or like whatever.
I don't know if you saw Hexo kind of subtweet at me because I was talking.
I'd love to hear about it.
Talking some smack to a couple people on Twitter. I might have like quickly jumped on a new profile that's. I don't give a shit, man. He's farming Hexagon engagement, and I don't think that's cool at all. But people do it. It's whatever. We have a really huge community and a lot of people that want to, come after us. And sometimes for good reasons, sometimes for not so good reasons. And the profile hasn't been around long enough with how much it's tweeting Hex. It hasn't been around long enough for me to make a complete decision on them, but it just smells really fishy to me. So I was just giving them a hard time and kind of asking them to justify their engagement farming. And then Hexo wrote a tweet like a couple hours later that was like, guys, we need to be nice to people that are talking about Hex. Don't be attacking these people. But I put like a gif in there of a person holding Drake back. I was like, yo, lucky Hexo said something, man. I was out for blood today. Like, so I have to chill. I'm gonna be nice to everybody. Everybody love everybody.
As soon as we get into this next bull run in Pulse, well, first of all, we have Pulse launching, right? So when Pulse and Pulsex launches, there's going to be a lot of new voices that are going to be very opinionated. Mm-hmm. Then we go into, or that could be the start of, I don't know, of a bull run in general in crypto. Then there's going to be a boatload more people that are going to be talking about crypto. Like,
the only thing that I try to let Hexicans be aware of is take pride in how strong of a community you belong to, and don't let people, mess around with you. Don't let people exploit you. We've been around long enough, and people like Motley and Wendy's have probably spoken to this on the show before, or they can at least attest to it. Like, people look at Hexicans as sort of this gold reserve that they hopefully can go and capture, because there's a lot of economic power in this community and a lot of future potential in this community. And so there's a huge incentive for some people on the internet to sort of clout chase and to get a massive following so that they can steer you in the wrong direction in the future for their own personal benefit. So I stay very vigilant. It takes a little bit more than you just buying followers and then tweeting, hey, I love Hex, for me to go, oh, that's a Hexican, right? Because people can prey on people. So just, be cautious. And I'm not saying that everybody that says something nice about Hex you haven't heard of is, a bad person. I'm just saying be cautious.
Yes, correct. And especially during this time, we're so close to something coming out. What do you know there's change. People have questions. There's going to be a boatload of people who get fucking scammed during this next 2 weeks if launch happens in May. There's going to be a lot of people who get scammed because of the community here. There's going to be Nardo. What is good? How you doing?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Smash the like freeloaders.
Yes, you freelanders, you better hit that. And then
Right.
also the subscribe button. What is going on, guys? You haven't pressed the subscribe button and the notification to get notified when the Orca is very smart.
I'm back
Thanks,
from the
Purple
bathroom.
Scout.
I
She's
wanted to
also
make
very
sure.
smart, man. And she's way more polished than me. I would way rather watch her on stream than watch me on stream.
What's it? You and I have like just blank dull backgrounds, and she's got like this
I know.
beautiful
She's got like
all
the cactus and like a hand painted, thing over here, and I'm just like, hey
Guys,
you
don't
like,
forget,
right?
my background's pretty lit.
I
and
was gonna
GRC,
say,
yeah, but it looks a little like right now.
No, man. You got to think about
There you
the
go.
evolution.
There you go.
The evolution, man. Like when you first started and you just kind of like get on because you got to get going and try something. To see you intellectually and stylistically improve day after day after day, and it just shows that you're not doing this as some simple casual, I can hit a button and make this happen. You have a real drive for this, and you want to make high quality content for people. The production quality, I know Bullish helps out, but the production quality is beautiful. You're really just moving it forward every day. And that's the same ethos that we're taking in the fitness challenge. Like you guys said, you don't have to become, the silverback Sam, but just take a step to be better each day. Just make it a little better each day.
And that's the production
Tangent's
quality.
at the clubs, by the way. Tangent's at the clubs right now.
Yeah, because he's scared. He doesn't want to come and confront.
He's drinking his fear of telling everyone it was a Bitcoin bull market.
Mm-hmm.
Guys,
Right.
The question is, did you guys sacrifice for fiat? And the truth is, I did this morning just a little bit.
I did not.
I haven't looked into the sacrifice phase at all, so I'm aware of like the brand.
Well,
name
we're not
stuff.
going to talk about it anymore because people need to do your research, guys.
I'm way behind on the research.
Yeah,
good call.
This is not.
I wasn't gonna do it. I didn't do any research yet. So
this is not. I have done the research. This is not something that I played with the test net. I've looked at everything. Yes, there's holes in it. Like there's holes in many things, but like I just like DeFi, and I was just really curious, and I just wanted to cover it. It wasn't. I was never endorsing it, and I was talking to the guy, and it's like it sucks that I can't talk about some of this stuff openly sometimes because it always turns into an endorsement, right? Because I'm having good conversations with like smart dudes, and they're like very good conversations, and people are like, "These guys are smart. Like this stack phase might be cool," and I'm like, "That's not really the point. If you don't understand business, then you can't really." It's just like it's so business.
Yeah, that's a very responsible approach for you to take, man. Because I know I'm passionate about stuff too, and I love DeFi. So when new projects come out, I want to get dirty and figure out what's going on. But there is something to be said about some people don't necessarily hear the nuance, or they're not totally interested, and they just hear kind of positive connotations being spoken around a brand, and so they jump in and they say that's my new brand. You see a lot of new project maximalists, you could almost call them, where they're searching for the new shiny thing, hoping to get the early entry maximum reward kind of play, and that's a dangerous game to play in crypto, given how uncertain a lot of these productions and things are. So I appreciate that you're willing to have discipline there and say we can discuss it maybe in private or in a different space, but it's not always appropriate all the time to discuss.
Well, I'm trying to protect people in a way, right? Like, and I'm not throwing money around that's going to end anyone's lives either, guys. Like, you know what I mean? Like, none of this is make or break money. It's just like, what I want to learn about this shit. And, if you're into something at $3 million overall valuation and it works out, like that $300.
Where, how do you like, so for me, right? Because I don't mind talking about shit personally, and I'm not saying we're talking about that, but just like because
you're different about that for sure.
Yeah, and on the opposite side of it, because I see it as like a potential opportunity for the right type of person, and it's not that I'm recommending it. Like you got to be 100% clear about that, but like to understand it for the right person, it's like not exposing that to the opportunity in terms of helping that person, whatever it is, and whether it's a rug pull or something. What, you know what I mean? I don't know. there's definitely a balance there to
Sure.
go
Yeah, you don't want to be a gatekeeper, right? Because a lot of people felt that way about Hex, and they gatekept a lot of people out of life-changing wealth. So there is something to be said about entertaining, and as long as we begin to view things as tools in our toolbox as opposed to these scriptures that we have to, become devoted to, then there's really an opportunity for us to be educated and still say no, and that's a really healthy place to be.
I'm betting on DeFi on Pulsechain. I just am.
I love that.
And it's not because one, I want to learn how to use it, and two, my position moving forward is going to be an important part of my life. That might not be the exact avenue that I use, but I need to learn it, because what if it's the best avenue? What if nobody knows about it yet? What if it's perfect? What if it's like, I'm the guy who's going to start covering, or whatever? You guys know what I mean?
Because
100%.
You also have like this expansive gap between like reality for most of the population and then like reality with crypto, and there's such an education gap between these two. So like I see talking about certain things and as a way to help bridge that gap, because there has to be like that Joe Rogan of crypto, of like where they can connect with people to bring stuff forward in ways that like, because that needs to be closed. That gap is so wide right now, and it needs to come closer together so more of these people can start jumping off that cliff to get into crypto faster.
I think your guys' show, I think Crypto in the Morning does that, man. So that's a much, like you said, it's much needed, because I don't know everything either, and I rely on the community at large to educate me on new opportunities. And so as long as we're all willing to suspend the tribalism long enough to just get the meat and potatoes out there, then that can be really beneficial to all of us. So I appreciate that.
Before Sam goes, I want to talk to Orca and Sam about this topic, because I bring it up every show until I nail it down in my head. So the stablecoin thing, right? Like, if you have stables, and so many people do, I know people that hold stables because they think shit's going bear, and they're just like, fuck it, and then they get like 8% on their stables, Sam. So it's like a rich person's way to like bear market it out while you're getting 8% on your USDC. So anyway, I've heard two sides of the story, right? I keep asking the same question to people. Say the OA has DAI, it's decentralized, it's the one you want to use. And then the other people say USDC, you can't swap your USDC for DAI. You shouldn't do that. There's no way you should do that. So that's the same thing answered in two opposite ways, but they're just using different verbiage, right? Like, they're telling me DAI is the best, but then they're saying don't swap your USDC to DAI. And that's why this is all theoretical.
Sure. I think. So what I would say to that is, this is just Orca opinion here. I would presume that the OA would utilize DAI because it still serves the same purpose when it's bridged in to Pulsechain. So we're talking about the Ethereum DAI, just like Ethereum USDC, being wrapped and brought into Pulsechain. That's still going to be pegged to $1, because I can bring it back to Ethereum and withdraw it for $1 in those services. But I would suspect that, given how USDC is structured, there's a slightly increased risk of a USDC copy being sort of invalidated by USDC. It's not really invalidation, it's a more complex thing than that. But also that DAI is probably there might be a person, I don't know who the OA is, but there might be a person who's interested in this mind game of, can you frictionally reserve an asset to zero? And so DAI is a collateralized stablecoin. And the idea is like, well, how much collateral do you need for the actual like transaction value of it to maintain a $1 peg? And that's a question that nobody really has a 100% foolproof answer to. And so if I was holding DAI as the OA going through the fork, I know that I can bridge the DAI in and have that kind of zero correlated attempt with the liquidity pairs, the same way we do it with USDC currently on Ethereum. But then I also have this derivative play where maybe it's actually possible to pair up a bunch of RAF DAI and P DAI and set the price at 1-to-1. And the market says, I don't really care what the underlying collateral is. I just want to have a unit of $1 measurement. And so that could be a decision. It'll be interesting how maker DAO behind the scenes engages with that? Do they vote to shut off certain vaults so that the peg isn't stabilized on Pulsechain? I don't know why they would choose to do that. There'd be more fees. If you think about fees that you earn, you'd rather the assets be more expensive, because then 0.3% of something is just it's a more expensive commodity. You're going to be able to earn more in fees, presumably.
Or
So
if you want,
on DAO.
if you want, like if you're the DAO that's behind DAI and you have like any idea of living into perpetuity to some degree, a wider adoption rate, even a derivative play of PDAI is, I mean, like I would think for people who use gray matter would be like an intelligent thing to have out there, is an additional branded DAI that allows your shit to live into the future longer.
Yeah, and that also kind of applies to USDC. You know, there are benefits out there. So I would not advise anybody to look at a stable coin as like, this is my big pre-fork play. There's probably an ERC20 out there that would have a much more likely path to faster price appreciation, if not price parity.
There's some guys that
consider holding.
Though. You got to think about the tax implications just right there, right? Like,
that's true. That's true.
People do this for a reason with the USDC because they're ready to make a play, right? And if they make a different play.
I had a question for work, and this is a 100% selfish question because I know in a minute or so I'm going to be getting off, and I don't want to forget this question. Will, if you have LP with Uniswap, you don't get your free tokens. Is that accurate?
You will be holding your token that's able to redeem the liquidity, but the AMM bot's going to beat you to that liquidity. I can't really.
Oh no. But so if so what you're saying is that's gonna basically give you
pulse.
Gotcha.
Just a little bit of pulse from the AMM bot buying up the liquidity.
Can you go over that, because like I've never heard anybody talk about it before, and it just clicked when you said that. So but 100%. In more nuanced detail. So if somebody has Ethereum Uniswap pair between XYZ and ABC that is earning them yield, and then Pulse comes out, what is the outcome of what they're going to get and go?
Exactly. So when you form that Ethereum Uniswap V2 liquidity pair, you'll be given an LP token that represents the liquidity that you stand to withdraw in the form of the assets that you originally put up. The impermanent loss comes in the form of you started with an equal amount of each asset, but it might be different by the time you pull it out. Doesn't mean that you lost money. It just means that the asset balance is now different than it used to be. And so then on Pulsechain, at the height of the block height where this fork occurs, that liquidity, PRC20, those assets that you used to have on the Uniswap, and now it's over in Pulsex, those, the Ethereum, what used to be Ethereum is now Pulse. So you have Pulse and Hex as a pair. So the AMM bot gets a whole bunch of Pulse. It gets 2% of the total supply to go shopping. And it just goes and looks at all of the different liquidity, just like you and I can go and market buy right now. The AMM bot goes and says, hey, look at that. There's PRC20s. I'm going to market buy them with this Pulse. And so what's left in that liquidity pool is just like maybe 100 Pulse chain coins and like 0.000001 P Shiba. And so when the person who has that LP token and they have their airdrop LP token goes to redeem their liquidity, the AMM bot took away the PRC20s and they're left with just however much Pulse it costs to essentially drain their assets out of the order book.
And the same thing happens because V3, I think you get something that's kind of like an NFT instead of an LP token for putting up.
Very similar.
So you're just going to get the copy of this fucking NFT that represents your position in the LP pool, but now your shit's going to be PRC20s instead of whatever you had on the other side.
Yeah. And that's why, there is sort of a gamifying of like, maybe if you are an LP, if you really value what those PRC20s might be worth, maybe you don't want that liquidity on the table at the time of the block height. If you don't care about them, then you just leave them in and go, whatever, So there's a little bit of strategy there, but I think a lot of people, because we don't have an exact time, will probably just have to make that personal decision on how much do they value their PRC20s.
That's interesting because when you bring that up, it's like, okay, well, we're going to this launch is going to cause a ripple effect on the liquidity pools of V2 and V1, Pancake, or like anything that's related to Ethereum. It's going to cause a ripple effect because some people are going to just be risk averse and not fully understand what we just talked about, and just going to pull from the liquidity and be like, okay, I'm going to sit in this for a month while I wait for this to launch. There's going to be people who do that, and that's going to pull up the liquidity. And I don't know. It's just going to be super interesting.
It's a fundamental. Imagine if you own the Hex ETH pair, liquidity pair, and you go, well, I don't want to have. First of all, ETH is the worst thing for me to get an airdrop copy of because it's 1-to-1 polls, but I really need like 1.26 million polls to have the same economic initial weight as Ethereum, just from a supply perspective. So I wouldn't necessarily want to keep my liquidity in the Hex US or in the Hex ETH pair. So if they pull that out and liquidity gets thinner and a bunch of Hexicans go in and buy, the pumpamental, the price will go up exponentially faster. So there is sort of like either you keep it in and you forfeit maybe some potential PRC20 value, or you take it out and make it easier for the asset to pump and dump. People could sell into the thinner liquidity and it could dump faster. But I like increased volatility, especially if I'm staking, because I don't really have to worry about it on the day-to-day, and it might create a competitive edge for me in terms of the yield I'm earning.
Especially if liquidity is pulled, your yield's going to be higher if you're doing LP. But the impact, right? So if somebody did do ETH Hex pair and they don't want ETH, they're going to, and assuming that they wanted X, they would go that direction, which is going to drive up price, which is literally what we're seeing in the price chart over the last couple of days.
Yeah.
And I expect this to continue to happen. People holding other ERCs, people doing it with LPs positions, and they're going to be, I would assume, bullish. And it looks like what we're seeing in the data is that they're going to be purchasing X. I think, I don't know, like I could see some of these things resetting come post adoption, whether it's one day or something.
It's just more of a it's like the correction, really. It's just trying to rebalance. I agree with that. Yeah.
It might not come all the way back down, maybe, but I think there's going to be some crazy volatility happening. I don't know what's going to happen. Like,
sure. I don't think it will last too long, just because I just know, right, from months, if not over a year now, of all these, well, I guess just months, Hexicans that really, really, really want that Pulsechain Hex, man. And so there's obviously a lot of sidelined money, and I would also suspect that that's probably the case even for Ethereum Hex, because there's something to be said about where do you decide to deploy your capital. If you believe that you can get PRC20 Hex for less than the current price of Ethereum Hex, then the best play might not be buying up a bunch of Hex before the fork. It depends on what the relative ROI is there. So I think a lot of people are just staying out of the battlefield for now because they know that there are better opportunities on the horizon, and they don't want to necessarily show their hands with regard to like liquidity providing. So
Par Hex was asking a good question here. Does the AMM bot only buy up the liquidity in the pools with ETH as one of the pairs, not say Hex and Maxi?
No, because as soon as it has any of the assets in the PulseX protocol that are tied to Pulsechain, then all of the system state assets on Pulsechain can be swapped for Pulsechain. So it doesn't have to like worry about, oh, this is the Hex USDC pair. It can still buy the P USDC and the P Hex using Pulsechain. It just goes through the router and it turns it into whatever asset it has to be. So if you're going to buy the Hex, it could swap the PLS effectively into USDC and buy up the Hex, and vice versa. And then you can just buy the other side as well, so that you own both of those PRC20s and leave, Pulsechain coins.
Will Uniswap like V2 and V3 and Pancake on Pulse? Pancake's not on Pulse.
They're on Binance.
Whatever. The ones, will the other dexes on Pulse die? Right? Like I don't know. Possible.
I think I do agree with Richard when he says it'll be the most liquid dex. That's just a mathematical fact. So it's going to harvest all of these airdrops. And then in terms of like why would I want to use a pancake swap? They would have to bring something competitive because I get a lower swap fee through Pulsex. And Pulsex can offer me that vertical integration in terms of how it structures its rewards. This is something that I did like a little rant on back when the incentive token was first proposed. When you think about like Pancake Swap didn't launch the same day that Binance launched, and Uniswap didn't launch the same day that Ethereum launched. And so there are also the leaders of the development teams that put these projects together. If they're from different teams, they don't have economic alignment necessarily, and they can't necessarily share resources efficiently. But in the Pulsechain ecosystem, it stands to reason that some of the rewards that the Pulsex protocol offers investors stimulates the Pulsechain ecosystem further, whereas Cake doesn't stimulate Ethereum. Cake is just an incentive token to allow you to sell off into the world, but there are real utilities in the Pulsex protocol through the pools and the farming that actually keep the economic energy within Pulsechain, which is just a stronger pumpamental for both Pulsex and Pulsechain. So
it's just interesting. I'd like to see when Pulsex has that limited for LPs. Like the
other dexes can survive if they're able to offer strong incentives. So maybe the fee is 0.01% higher, but if they're able to get you 1,000% APY.
What about on What about on Ethereum? What fee? What other dexes are on Ethereum?
Oh boy, I know. Well, actually, is Curve on Ethereum, or is that on? I'd have to look that up for you, man. I know that Sushi Swap is. I want to say Binance. Pancake is Binance. I only ever use Uniswap as my DEX on Ethereum, and I'm not really familiar with the other DEXs. I'd have to look that up for you.
I feel like
I'm pulling it up right now.
Because remember, whenever we're talking about DEXs, there's always that vampire attack talk, like between the two on the same chain, right? Like one of them's going to have a better rate, right, Sam?
Mm-hmm.
And like we know what happens when you put two DEXs together and one's more powerful and has a better rate. It just takes over the whole
Curve is what I was thinking of.
I don't know why this isn't
and
like
Bancor.
Loading. I'm trying to click on this. Is it?
Some of the names
loading.
I recognize on there.
1 inch.
Like
1 inch
inch.
is one of them. 1
yeah.
inch. Yeah.
1 inch, and then Curve is one. Bancor is one. Actually, some of the Bancor game theory is involved in the Pulsex game theory as well. Sushi Swap, Bancor.
What's the volume on some of these? If anyone in the comments knows, what's the volume on some of these? Like, is there any volume?
I'll pull it up. I was looking at this the other day. It was pretty interesting. Volume on DEX.
Comparatively, of course, to you.
Yeah. Cow Swap is another one. Yeah. It's hard to remember sometimes which chains because some of them are on multiple chains too. So I get confused with the brands, but I usually like if I'm not using Uniswap, it's probably because I'm using like Matcha or 1 inch, but those are sort of different.
Yeah. So
whenever grown men say Spooky Swap, I always laugh.
Dude, Spooky Swap is such a good name.
I know.
Do you guys like the name Pulsex?
I do, yes.
I think it's super easy. Holy shit! Look at this.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's nearly 2 billion.
So then you can go over to because then you can go straight over to the the GUI, and you'll see that it reflects the GUI directly how high that volume is for the 24.
Okay, hold on. Let me make this a little bit bigger so people can see. Whoa, not the right thing.
They should put GUI next to it. Show.
Yeah.
That's dope though. So here you can see is this just volume of all DEXs, I guess? Yes.
No, this is individually ranked though. So this is 1.8 billion for Uniswap V3.
24-hour volume.
Yeah, and the Pancake Swap is 500 million. Finance, whatever that is 400 million. Orca is also running a DEX. If you guys are not aware, Orca actually has its own DEX apparently.
So
I don't know the DEXs. I don't like to show
1
the
inch
other
is actually an aggregator, which I think means that it brings a lot of the other things together.
This one is.
So aggregators like 1 inch and Matcha, what they really are doing is they're hunting through all the DEX's liquidity pools, and then they aggregate the best deal for you. So that's why I said they're a little bit different. They're not quite.
It's like vacationfinder.com. They get you the cheapest ticket out of everyone.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, they try to do like router efficiency.
There's
There are
a
deals.
Is Serum still alive? What is Serum on? I remember I bought some Serum at some point back in the day.
I recognize the name, but I'm not
oh,
sure.
here it is. Here they're doing 64 million a day. I mean, that's
Yeah, they're
successful.
still bucking, I guess.
It's on Solana. It looks like.
Yeah, so guys, there's so much to learn about in this community. It's actually unreal. It's unreal. If you guys are saying there's no content, there's no this, that, the other, baloney.
Holy crap.
Baloney, dude. I could do a show 24 hours a day for 10 weeks and have content. I would be tired and that would be dumb. But like there's content every moment of every day of every second. There's hundreds of blockchains. There's things going on everywhere. There's new coins. There's airdrops. There's liquidity providing. There's leverage. There's DeFi. It's just like, oh my God.
I gotta run, but go ahead.
No.
Finish,
If you gotta sign on, it's just a real quick tidbit. You might find this interesting. That's why I'm stealing you. When when Sunday Swap launched on Solana, they actually had their very first DEX transaction front run by an individual who was able to utilize the testnet code to find essentially what the mainnet address was going to be through some trial and error. And so they actually set an order before the public mainnet block height within seconds of the availability of running the operation, which allowed the very first Sunday Swap transaction to be front run and basically murder the other person on that side of the trade. So that's why if you're going like, I can't wait any longer, this is taking so long, I don't want to get front run on the very first transaction. So just do it right.
Hey, that's a perfect way to end this. Orca always dropping some valuable stuff here. I don't know, GSC, if you're staying on.
I'm gonna finish up. Orca, you can stick around if you'd like. I'm gonna be another 20-25 minutes.
Sure.
Cool. And I'm gonna run if
you want company.
I'm going to be doing a deep dive, at least anything I can find on their site. And if anybody wants to talk about the fiat stuff, really to try to understand it for myself later today on my channel. So if anybody wants to check that out, they can check out the links down below or jump over to Twitter and say what's good.
Or Cardano, sorry. They said it's not on Solana, it's on Cardano. Sunday.
Okay.
I'm stupid.
So,
I don't use Cardano.
No, you're good. Hey, appreciate you guys. Orca, we'll talk soon. GRC, we'll talk later. Peace out, guys.
So many topics today, dude. It's been absolutely.
You're a beat. How are you up at 4 a.m. every day, dude?
It's not every day. Sometimes I'll do a night stream and I'll sleep in. But like when I wake up, I got shit. There's so much shit to do, man. I don't have financial free. Well, like I'm financially free as far as I don't have to work for anyone. But like I still need to figure stuff out for the long term, right?
I'm with you. That's a great cause. Because I had a super late night last night. And right before I went to bed at probably 4 a.m, I saw you guys in the Twitter space. I was like, gosh, dang. The only way I can be awake at that time is if I haven't slept.
Well, yeah, no. Well, it was a big group. So I jumped in there because they're usually staying up and I'm just getting up. So they transitioned for me to host because someone wanted to get some sleep. And so no, it's been the Twitter spaces in the morning. I'm trying to change the Twitter spaces in the morning to something that's really powerful and something that people can get their day started, because when the Twitter space is vibing good in the morning, it changes my day completely.
Yeah, man. No, and you can see the emotions of like the little pump and stuff. People, dude, my tweets are getting like 1,000 times more. I
sacrificed for that thing. All the bullshit aside, I sacrificed for that thing, and it went live like 4 hours ago, and it's just it might come out to nothing. I got to look into it way deeper, but like stuff like that. I mean, there's like little alphas along the way, like, and you just sprinkle some little shit. It's about learning too, Orca. Like, if I do 10 rug pulls for $300 a piece, to me, that's worth it. Like
sometimes it is.
It's worth it to lose $3,000 over a year or two, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna stick with my methods, right? The 95% of my bag, the 98% of my bag. Like, clearly, that's the move. But dude, Dogecoin went up 63,000%. Like, and people were just playing around with it. We are armed with that knowledge now of speculative value.
Yeah, I mean, that's responsible. If you have a little allocation, something that you can afford to lose, and there's something that catches your interest, crypto's the last place that you want to go, that was interesting, and I felt like it was something I want, and I just got scared and I didn't buy it. That doesn't mean FOMO into every new project that claims that they have a roadmap that's going to the moon. It's just if it's interesting and you got a little extra discretionary income, then maybe put a little bit down. It's a great idea.
People are quick to judge. Well, like the thing that people don't understand is the sacrifice phase to me is at least a barrier of like openness, right? Like at least you're like being transparent in a way. You're like, okay, this money's going here. Like especially for the one today, like there's a cap on that, and it got too close to it, and they might extend it, who knows? But like they got it in like 50 minutes. So
Yeah,
there's
man,
there's a prop. Well, I don't even know what it is, but it was like almost halfway there, like 20 minutes in.
nice. See, and that's something that people, before we get too hostile, because it feels like they're coming after our bags for a sacrifice. Remember that nobody pays anyone a salary to come up with a crypto idea, right? Unless it's them within their own structure.
It's noble.
It's a very tough endeavor to do, and there are better things that'll. If you're a talented developer, there are way better ways to spend your time that people will pay you for. So, I totally support it. You know, if they got to go through the sacrifice phase, and that's sort of their salary, if you will, or their project cost, then kudos to them, and the market decides how much they want to support it. So that's fair to me. I don't see any problems there.
Yeah, especially when people have like stuff to play with, like that's a green light in my mind, right? Like someone put their ass to the grass and made sure there was a beautiful test net there. So like guys like me, and that's when my mind triggers in the right direction, right? And then I ask the guy, so then I get involved on the Telegram. Then I start talking to the guy. Then he answers me right away. Then then he lets me DM him, and I'm like, okay, this dude's like willing to talk. Like this is dope. And then he's like, I can't come on stream directly because there's rules about me kind of talking about my shit. But I've been a Hexakim for this long. I was in day one. I know this guy, that guy, and the other guy. And I'm like verifiable shit. And I'm just like, him and
there's
there's
not a lot of scammers that'll waste all their time like trying to educate you on the scam. Like they usually give you 4 or 5 quick sells, and then if you still are wasting their time, they're like, buy the ETH, man, and they block you or whatever. So it's good that they're taking the time to talk to you.
What are you excited about as far as any kind of, you don't have to say the project name, but like as far as like DeFi, stuff like that, is there anything that you in particular want to play with, or is like something that you're particularly interested in? Do you have any interest in Web3 or any of that stuff? Or are you primarily just putting your money into yield-bearing assets?
As far as what I spend my money on, definitely yield-bearing assets and kind of the RH ecosystem, and then I have some other positions in like Luna and stuff like that. But there are, in my opinion, I'm most excited for what Pulsechain is going to provide the NFT community with, not from like, oh, now the pictures are gas efficient, but I think that there's a lot of really cool use cases that are coming to the NFT marketplace. And some of them may even be integrated with primarily art. But I think that it's much more difficult to produce that on Ethereum just with those gas fees. So in an environment where they're not being bled dry, I think we're going to see a lot of useful NFTs that are creative and really kind of debunk the myth that it's ape JPEG speculation market. I think that there's a lot more to it. Like Hedron is a good example of an NFT that the HSI stake is an NFT. That's a utility NFT. Nobody has to even put a picture on that for it to be sexy. So when you combine the idea that people are integrating the smart contract capabilities of NFTs with financial tools, and then maybe art's included, I think that's going to be like we've never seen. This is going to really be worthy of the hype that NFTs have been given for the past 12 months.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Like when it comes to the Web3 stuff, I would feel like there's a lots of opportunity there too. Like for the people that want to maybe that don't work and want to spend a little extra time staring at random shit on their computer. The problem with yield farming and everything is if I had a bot for it, I wouldn't mind it. But until I know that I can have a bot to do it, I don't want to fuck with my computer that much. I hate fucking with my computer. I hate fucking with my crypto. It gives me absolute anxiety.
So I love Hex. No touch points. The yield just does what it does. I don't have to do anything. I have to accrue it. I don't have to pull it. Think about I like to think of, because for me, crypto is much more about finance than it is, well, I shouldn't say that because it's much more about freedom. But in terms of what industry does it fall into, it falls into like tech and finance. And I think about what makes the ordinary legacy investor the most compelled to participate in investing, it's typically the indexes. They like the S&P 500 indexes, like SPY. They like the Dow. They like the NASDAQ. And imagine utilizing NFTs in a way to sort of have like a treasury of assets and an NFT that investors can purchase that serves as an index of all these crypto assets that they want exposure to without individually buying the asset. And maybe it's balanced, the same way that they balance the S&P 500 so that you have more successful companies being given a heavier weight or something like that. That could be a really interesting thing, because then with the protection NFTs offer, I can go over to old boomer man who doesn't want to talk crypto, and I can actually do a cash transaction with him hand to hand and then just send him an NFT to his wallet. Say, there you go. You've got exposure to the index of crypto.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty insanity. We were talking about Hex Investment Trust with RG3 in the Twitter spaces earlier.
Nice.
Do you know anything about that? I know you know more about Legacy than me, so you understand that concept. Let's go into it for a second. What is a trust, or what is general thing, what they're doing? And then how is this good for Hex and crypto in general? And how is this kind of bridging the gap? And are there other ways to do this other than Bitcoin and Ethereum? Are there other coins that are interacting with Legacy?
So the kind of purpose behind the Hex Investment Trust is to provide accredited investors exposure to crypto who maybe have regulatory kind of laws in their way that make it more difficult for them to just directly interact with the market. Maybe they're fiduciaries in some other financial industry, and so in their jurisdiction, they're just not allowed to buy crypto while they're acting as a financial advisor or something to that extent. And so a trust is merely just an organization that comes together and says, we are willing to provide fiduciary oversight to pooled funds. We're just money managers. And you want exposure to something, I can provide you the convenience and maybe even the legal route to that exposure without you having to jump through all those hoops. And so it's really good for Hex because their business model is mimicking that of Grayscale for Bitcoin. And while we could poke holes in that, what Grayscale kind of offers to the market, what can't be denied is that the team behind Grayscale only buys Bitcoin. They never sell it. And they have to balance their books utilizing that. So in the Hex Investment Trust, they'll only be buying Hex. They'll never sell it. So I like Hex being taken off the market.
Yeah, and that's off of that part of it. I like that part too. But as far as interacting with Legacy, so basically what you're saying, or what if I'm correct, you basically, this is for rich people, probably $5 million plus we talked about earlier. He said right around that $5 and $6 million of assets is a good time to start. But guys, it's a good part. But thinking about this stuff is important because it takes years/months to get accepted and learn about this shit. So, but I mean, it's expensive as fuck. So if you have a less than $1 million in assets, it's not worth it, or even more than $1 million. But I'm super excited for it in the future because I love the thought. I know people are going to hate this, of someone dealing with some of my money.
Yeah, man. There's some serious legitimacy to that.
Dealing with it that much.
I hear you, man. There's a lot of people that have a lot of money that feel that same way, because what made them highly successful probably wasn't staring at their money all day. And so offloading that responsibility to highly successful traders who understand how to do true statistical analysis on the value proposition of different assets like Hex. And that's what that team is going to bring you, right? These are professionals. They have extensive experience doing that. So there's something to be said about the convenience of somebody else managing your money. If you feel that they're more familiar in the industry than you, just go and continue to be successful in your field, and then they can handle that for you. I believe the Hex Investment Trust is only offered to accredited investors, which I believe is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars or more.
Well, the accredited investors just to their standards. So you just basically have to go through them and become an accredited investor with them, and the standards.
Yeah, but there's a federal.
So when you say accredited investor, yes, I would love to have Kinetics on. Somebody go spam Kinetics and tell them I want to have them on.
Yeah.
Not right now, but I want to spam him right now. But I want to have him on so bad. RG talked to me for hours this morning, and he mentioned that it was roughly I believe he mentioned, and I could be totally wrong in this number, it was upwards of a little over $30,000. Like in 10,000 was just the starter fee to get started or something. But I don't know. Maybe that's wrong. But again, this is for someone to take care of your freaking massively growing bags of wealth that are your security risk is rising by the moment when you get in isn't it kind of?
Yeah.
If you don't know what you're doing, you get into those numbers.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about not being prepared. So that's another thing that the Hex Investment Trust offers.
By the time that comes, I'd love to have a relationship with them. And I'm not talking about them in particular. I'm just talking about this kind of business model. I want to have a relationship, and I want to know what I'm doing before it happens.
Get an internship.
That would be dope.
Get an internship and learn finance from them. What the hell they got doing? I know that they're not trading Hex every day. What the hell they got going on?
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Go get the coffees and learn finance.
But but I love all this shit. I'm starting to love all this.
It's an incredible time, man.
I love finance, dude.
I love watching you grow in the space, man. You ask good questions. You're willing to ask them twice if that's what it takes, dude. You're gonna do great for yourself in crypto, because I know that a lot of people are afraid to ask questions, dude. I've been in academia long enough that I say this every now and then. When I'm in a classroom and none of the students raise their hands, I know that I'm in a classroom of C students. But if I'm in a classroom and one person raises their hand, I know that's the A student, and I just got all these other C students to possibly get a B, because they're going to ask questions everyone else is thinking, and that's so important. We should never be afraid of saying, I don't know the answer. Can you please help? And maybe if you're asking me, maybe I don't have the answer, but I promise you I'll go to the end of the earth to find you the guy that does, right? Because we're in it together, and I want to win with you.
And you don't even have to go to the end of the earth. You need to click 3 buttons and you have 10.
I just like to make it sound like a really.
No, I know it's true. Finding people to help you is the easiest thing ever in the Hex community.
Oh yeah, I think I am.
Have any problems with anything specific? Now you need a specific, detailed question, guys, not some fucking bullshit. What do I do? No, hey, I have this problem, or hey, I'm thinking about providing liquidity, or hey, this, that, and the other. Can you give me, what would you do? Blah, blah, blah. If you make it a little detailed, short and sweet, these guys will answer you right away. But if you say some baloney that has no end to it, and there's no clear answer, and nobody knows your financial situation, I'm going to ignore it. I
totally goofed up, man, because I was conflating two ideas. So there's Mountain Crypto Advisors with Whales and some others, and then Hex Investment Trust. Totally botched that. So Mountain Crypto Advisors manages more than just Hex. They're in crypto, and they'll be that accredited
merge from the financial industry.
Mm-hmm. And then the Hex Investment Trust, I believe, is a much lower barrier to entry, and they just do the Hex thing. But thank you, BMD, for bringing that up. I was conflating those two ideas for sure. When I stay up, 23 hours a day doing live streams and stuff, then I can't get the chains right. I can't get the names right. I'm trying, man. But that's why you got an awesome chat and they can correct us on the fly.
Yep. That's why this is the best way to learn. Because
man.
I got the chat here. Let me pull up the Hex chart real quick.
Hell yeah, man.
Freaking Staker. 1666. Guys. We're still printing green candles. How many is that in a row? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Love it.
6.
Dude, and to be doing it in this environment is crazy. I mean, equities markets have come back a little bit, but it's kind of a fake bump over there because we're getting ready for stagflation. But
it's pretty crazy that we broke that right there.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting test. I think I know Jenkins called that out. That's a level I've been looking at. I'm sure a lot of people that are doing TA are looking at that. So it'd be nice to get above 17 and hold it, or maybe 19 would be a more conservative. But that's how hard it is to kind of, if you're an investor who thinks that you're going to use technical analysis to get rich, it's real hard to wait for breakouts to begin your position. The real ROI comes from everything below the breakout. If you can get in before, if you see the future and you get in that little bit cheaper, that's a huge 20, 30% compounded ROI for you in relative, but it's a higher risk. So I hope we do stay above that level. I think The timing of Pulsechain couldn't be any more perfect. I really do believe we'll continue to see market support leading up to the launch. And I'm not convinced that at launch we're going to see things just fall apart by any means. I think hexagons are going to be winning real hard, man. I have the same kind of like jazzercise energy I had 6 months into Hex. And I feel like there are so many people who are now, I'm going to consider them OG hexagons, man, because they've been battle tested. They bought in the 40-cent range, the 50-cent range, and they have heard the story of we double the price every blah, blah, blah. And then they're going, not me, man. I'm getting crushed. I am getting crushed. What is going on? So I think it's coming back in a big way. And those people that have gone through the trials and tribulations are going to be the same ones that are onboarding 1,000 new hexagons in the next bull run, because we tend to look at like what Bitcoin has done. We tend to do those cycles more quickly. And hey, the rest of crypto looks like it's pretty flat and trending down, and Hex looks like it's marching to the beat of its own drum. So a lot of people are about to be back in the green, man. They're going to be winning again. They're going to be on the winning team.
And we got this channel built up, you know, in a bear market. It's not the price has never gone up since this channel started. So I'm hoping that when it does go, you know, all you guys have been so nice and loyal to me, and everyone has been so good, and I've put in every single amount of effort that I could possibly work together most of the time. And, you know, guys, it's been the most fun I've ever had in my entire life. I mean, I've never experienced a work life that had any kind of creativity to it, any kind of, and now I'm thinking, and my brain is like, oh my God, it's almost like my brain has been resting for a long time. And
right.
I still had intellectual stuff I was doing, but only like 3 hours a day in the morning if I could squeeze it in. Like, and it was just exhausting. I was exhausted 24/7, dude. Like I was just running on empty 24/7. Yeah. And now I'm realizing the capabilities of my brain if I'm just well rested in general. Just like, I don't move as much. I'm very calm now. I used to be jittery, bite my fingernails like crazy. So it's been good, man. I've really enjoyed this, talking to guys like you every day, and hopefully inspiring some of you guys to be on camera more often. Like I'm very inclusive to people when it comes to like, get on camera. Like it's cool. Like it doesn't matter what you look like. And I know how anxiety provoking that is for some people.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm used to it. So not for me, but like beautiful, skinny, some fat, some this, that. I know the most beautiful people in the world, and they're the most anxious people about the way they look.
Yeah.
Just know, like, being comfortable with yourself has nothing to do with the way you look. It has nothing. I promise.
The Romanian dances, that's me. Glad I'm OG and Orcazaz. Yeah, dude. I mean, how much do I got to beat you up? Oh, well, you weren't here 2 years ago. Is that what you're going to be telling people when we're 10 years into the first Quattro Cinco, that you got in 2 years late? No one gives a shit, man. Get that energy out of here. We're all OGs. You're in before. I just Googled last night or 4 in the morning or whatever. I like to go to some websites that show like market cap as a visual. And that's what Richard tweets when he says the floor is lava and you see all the red boxes and the hex is green. Well, if you go to Google and you search crypto coin market cap visual, or heat map is what they're usually called, then the front page has about 10 results on Google. Only one of them actually has hex listed. So you open up all these heat maps on results 1 through 6, and you won't see hex on there. But then you click Yahoo Finance, which used to be the OG of financial like distribution of knowledge on the internet. They were the first. They've got hex. And then you go one more result down, no hex. So if you're in before the ranking sites are, you know, and we know about rank 201, if you're in before that, you're an OG.
People don't get it though. People don't see it. People don't see how early it is. People see that number. They don't understand the psychological warping that happens when things start to pump. Like literally it's psychological warfare in real time. People don't know which way is up anymore. They don't remember what happened last month. They don't remember what happened 6 months ago. The price is pumping. They're FOMOing. They didn't do enough research. The market's anticipating a pump to the moon forever. And that's when the people start getting wrecked, or right at the tippy of that, like right at the ladder 25. And you can predict it to a moment, but even the best of us, like during those pumps, like, we turn into
Molly was brave, man. He admitted it, and I'll pay you back on it. He said he maybe bought a fat sack above 40 cents. He's not alone. Some of us thought that was retesting a level for some continued breakout. So you're going to make some buys that aren't always in the profits, but I'm sure he also stakes a whole bunch of what he's got, and that makes it easy to lower your cost average, and you're going to get the pump by the time you end that stake, dude. Hex just brings a level of ease to investing in crypto that doesn't exist anywhere else in the space. Just doesn't. Trustless yield, man. I love no counterparty risk. It's like my favorite thing.
I love no overhead.
No overhead, dude. That's the best. No overhead. When you think about, you know, Bitcoin has the overhead of the electricity, but then they also have developers who don't have, there wasn't a Richard Hart sacrifice phase to make sure that they're made whole. So these guys have to do it out of the kindness of their heart, and there's institutions that pay them to do it. Well, that's overhead. You're telling me Bitcoin developers are being paid a salary. Someone's got an expectation for ROI on their money. They're not just doing this as a charity. And even if they are, it's not an effective way of sustaining a charity. So there's something to be said about there's a lot of overhead in Bitcoin. There's some overhead in Ethereum, and there's no overhead in Hex.
Other than Ethereum fees, which it's not overhead if you're just not doing anything. Like, I mean, yeah, it is a payment you have to do, but you're literally like just clicking the button. Like in real life, you would have to buy something at some point or provide some time or value. And in Hex, you just have to pay like $30 and click like 3 buttons.
For sure.
Man, I bought at 40 cents, 36 cents, 26 cents, 13
Nice.
cents, 11 cents, 19 cents. Yeah, I tell people the same thing. I'm like,
Killing it.
all the time. I bought Polkadot at 46. No, I bought Uniswap at $46 with the profits that I sold from the Celsius that I sold at $8. I was like, sold the top of sell, gonna ride Uni to the moon.
Right.
Been great.
Sometimes it doesn't work.
Yep, truly trustless passive income is unbeatable. I've learned so much about overhead business just from understanding the value that's there from being time locked, from being staked out. You know, inflation is the value, right? Like the government provides us the value. Richard Hart made the system that injects that properly to the right people.
Definitely.
It's amazing. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so happy that the Hex community is rallying and being upbeat in this time. Hex is pumping, going to the moon, guys. If you haven't signed up, cryptofitnesschallenge.com. I'm going to run the ad before I jump out of here, guys.
Yeah, man.
Please like this right now, share, subscribe. If you haven't signed up for Crypto Fitness Challenge, there's about 100,000 Hex on the line, many other prizes. It's 100% free. Cryptofitnesschallenge.com for sign up. Watch my stream every day until May 1st. That's Sunday. That's when we're going to be launching the app so you can interact with it. Guys, cryptofitnesschallenge.com. I'm going to run the ad. Thank you so much, Orca, for coming.
Thanks for having me on, brother.
I appreciate you. Everything you do for the community, your insight is absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thanks, brother. Take care.
Have a great day. Guys, my wife bought 50K worth, 25 cents, 22 cents, 20. Yeah, no, I know. That's just the past 6 months. Yeah. 46 cents here. Oh, yeah, dude. Stick and stay, baby. For all you guys that bought a little high, don't worry. Don't worry. The charts don't lie. The numbers don't lie. We're in a downtrend. We were up 1,100%. Take it easy. You can't sustain those certain things. But what is also good to know from that, guys, another thing you can take from that is that, I forgot what I was saying. Hold on, 46 cents. Oh, yeah, another thing that you can take from that. Let me think. I want to think about that. Oh, yeah. So Hex had enough economic energy to get to 54 cents already, 56 cents already. That's really good to know in crypto because, I mean, the chances are we are going to blow off top again. That's a 5X from the bottom if it's down 80%. So you're starting out at a 5X before you even buy. Think about that. Every Hex you buy right now is worth 5. So if it can even get the economic energy to get back to the all-time high, which is just the break-even point, guys, and we're earning interest the entire time in the bear market. There is nothing like this in crypto. There is nothing, guys. I will talk about this shit until my lungs are out of breath because this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Richard Hart, thank you so much for everything you do for the community. Thank you for being transparent, and thank you for all the knowledge that you've given me from YouTube and the free stuff and showing me that being a paid shill is a rotten way to go. Guys, it's your boy GRC. This is Crypto in the Morning. Catch me live every single day at 11 a.m. Eastern. Great to see everyone. I'm going to run this video. Make sure you sign up for the Crypto Fitness Challenge, guys. I'll talk to you soon.